Okay. We're good to go. And Geoff is gone.
Great.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience Divisional Round Picks against the spread. SUPERLOCK competition for second place is still going on as they both rolled it forward with winners last week, plus, the Cust Corner and everything else that we end up talking about throughout the course of this show. Smash a like and sub to Mayo Media Network. Sub to my free newsletter as well. If you do that, or leave an audio rating and review for the Pat Mayo Experience on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, our good friend Tambo has qualified to be in the final 50 for the King of the Desert Golf DraftKings contest. And since he didn't get to give away a bunch of money at King of the Beach like he said he was going to, if he comes inside the top 3 of the final, so he has to advance past this week and get to the final, that he will give away 5% of his earnings if he comes inside the top 5. And there's $500,000 to first place, so it could mean 5 lucky people out there get a check, probably a PayPal, for $5,000 if Tambo ends up doing. So good reason to go root on Tambo, at Toe Tag and Tambo, but another way for me to get more newsletter subs, where my golf article now exists every single week, plus all the updates and the bets, and then more ratings and reviews on the podcast. You've done this stuff before, with the audio rating and review, do it again. Turn on those auto downloads as well, because we need to get people back into the fold that way. And the newsletter's free. It literally will take you 3 seconds. So the link is down in the description. Go do that now. The Golf Listeners League is available now. I'm still working on the NFL link, but we'll have that for the 4-game slate on the weekend. Jeffrey, how you feeling?
Feeling good, Pat. Enjoyed the football. Wish the games were a little more entertaining, but the results and the storylines from those results were sort of entertaining as we were watching some of these games.
Okay, that's great. So, the coin is in studio as well, as is Paul Shaughnessy, who has made the cover photo for this show for the very first time ever, although he may be knocked off his perch now that the Jets have released a new hype video for next year, because on the line is one very excited Tim Undercust.
Tim Undercust.
That is not my name. Look, it's been an excellent week. Wind back the clock 7 days. My team in the snow knocks the Patriots out and sends Bill Belichick on his way. The Dolphins faceplant on national TV. The Bills, only because an act of God prevented them from playing in the snow when they most certainly would have lost Sunday afternoon, keeps them alive barely till they get embarrassed at home against Patrick Mahomes. And now the Jets put out this hype video, and Rodgers is basically telling you that the chip on his shoulder for 2024 is the size of Olympus. And so we are ready to roll. It has been, look, the AFC East was supposed to be mine this year. We were supposed to win. It was supposed to be our season, but fate intervened on opening night and prevented the Jets from being able to compete. And so the teams that, stole away playoff spots that should have been ours, like Miami and Buffalo, are quickly getting theirs. And now things are starting to. 2024 has been a great year. It has been a great year so far. I'm excited. That hype video was extremely, extremely emotional. I was like, can it be September yet? Like, I'm there. I'm ready. They released our schedule opponents for next year. They're like, we happen to have a very soft schedule next year, just the way things broke out. We don't play the Chiefs. We don't play. The only really, really hard game we play on the schedule all year is San Francisco. Like, I see 16 wins on that schedule in a blink, assuming that we're healthy. So I've got that going. Miami humiliating itself. Philadelphia, the team that the Jets broke when they were looking like a juggernaut, falling apart on Monday Night Football this week. Buffalo hanging on by a thread in a game they got outplayed in yesterday and are really going to get meet their maker on Sunday, the guy who owns them. And the Patriots were humiliated. Bill Belichick left after we beat him, and they hired Gerard Mayo in a day. And, I don't think he's that good of a coach. So, yeah, things are great right now. Things are great. Things are great. Plus, the new Live team name was announced, the Legion 13, which is an awesome name and is an awesome looking team. I am 100% rooting for Legion 13 this year. That looks so cool. Things are great. I'm in a great mood. I think I know who's making Geoff's memes. We've done some investigative research, and so we're doing all right here. I'm in a good mood. We're winning the vote. Everything's going my way.
Well, I have something that's going to put you in an even better mood, Tim. Can you believe that? I asked a bookmaker friend of mine, and we're going to see if we can get the odds up for people to actually be able to bet on. But there is a line currently for the most insane who is going to win.
Well,
Okay, what is it?
Have I ever sounded as crazy as whatever just happened there?
Yes,
And we're all
on
doomed.
a weekly basis.
You
on
just
a weekly
cursed
basis.
everyone's 2024.
If you say so. I'm feeling great. Things are going really well.
So,
No, but
the favorite, you can vote in the Custys Awards. Voting is now open. You can get the link down in the description. I encourage everyone to let me steal their email and vote in the Custys Awards. That's, the primary focus of all of this. But, Geoff, you're a minus 110 favorite to win most insane this year.
All right.
the guy
It's good
just
to
called,
know that
like,
at least we start.
this
we
is some
started
early
poll.
camp. This is, you know what? I thought we could be a little later into this episode before we got here, but we'll just do this right now. Some of y'all, you don't care for my sensibilities. I'm about to make it way worse. But what
Jesus.
we just heard was unhinged lunacy. He promised us he was taking a break.
I am taking a break. I haven't gone on Reddit once to look on Jeff's Reddit. Not once.
Thinking about getting excited. You broke. And what do you mean? You wish you were voting in these things? I don't even know what they're called. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, the upvote party?
Yeah. But let's break this down. Let's get clear into the bottom of this quickly. It is a beautiful tradition. I don't know whether you call it a tradition that we see across America where they raise up at times, although you know what? We don't treat special needs people well enough, but at times we do raise them up. We do. Like when we give them a handoff in a football game
God,
and the
Geoff.
defense evaporates and we let that kid score. Well, that's all of you. That's all of you clicking for Tim. What is this? A Make-A-Wish campaign? Because that is what we have engaged in. That is the basis of his campaign. Last week, it's like, I'm just like, let me win. I need to win one time. He doesn't even have a case. His case is to let him win. That is his case. God
Why
damn.
am I not leading? Why am I not leading by 50 points?
I don't know what that means.
You're rerunning the Hillary Clinton 2016 campaign.
No,
You
I
deserve
mean,
to win. How dare
as
anybody
long
not
as
vote
we
for
can
me?
acknowledge you are running a charity campaign. And
I'm
we're not
running a campaign where I'm asking people for their votes. I know it is such a novel concept to actually ask someone for their
you're asking
support.
for the votes. There's nothing like Geoff did this, Geoff did that.
You
It's just
were
like-
very misbehaved this year. And then to cap off, you don't, we can go, although we don't need to rehearse the litany of terribly misbehaved things you did this year. But as many people in the Twitter comments commented this week, the real capper was when you didn't take your Chargers Bills nephew to a football game when you were there in the city.
And you know the funniest part about
and you
that
have no
is
sympathy. either.
anyone that actually, like, anyone that is in my world, that is the funniest thing to them. That is the funniest thing to them because, like, A, there's actual real crazy things I do, but that whole everything on that kid's wall is from my life. Like, I do so much, like, there's enough there that, like, anyone who actually knows the workings of that situation, like, where are all these, whatever. That's
I don't
so
think you're helping
funny.
yourself. You're not helping yourself. What you've just said over the last 45 seconds hasn't helped you.
No, I'm saying anyone that actually knows me and my family would, like, laugh at the fact that anyone thinks that I've done wrong by my nephew, who actually knows, like, what actually has gone on. That's all
I
I'm
would
saying.
invite you. I would invite you to come up with a better strategy than yelling at the voters, demeaning the voters.
I'm not
and then
yelling at them. I'm yelling
criticizing
at
their
you.
thought process.
I'm yelling at what you've engaged in. You pretty much put aside
I'm trying to
things
win.
that I do or say, and you instantly opened your campaign on your hands and knees begging people to vote for you.
I want them to vote for me. You're right.
Like
I
the
happen to
one
have
in
the
10,
better
like it's been
memes.
10 years.
I happen to
Just
have the
give
better
me
case.
one. Give me one.
Yeah, give me one. Give me one, please. Look
Give
at how
me one.
behave.
How
look
about
how
QB 10?
Imagine how Geoff is going to behave when he loses his vote. Look how petulant he is
know.
now. Look, how is he going to
When
behave
I
when he
lose the
justly
vote?
when he loses his vote? He's now a
You
betting
wash
favorite.
your bananas, buddy.
Paul-
No,
I
you
wash
couldn't
my
even
produce when it
engage-
comes
you
home.
couldn't even engage
I know.
on a.
I know.
You couldn't even
I know.
engage on a real world level.
Get some new material. Honestly, you need to get some new material. It's like the
New
same two things you
material.
hit on, and you think that's enough.
I'm a father of 3. Okay, you're arranging doilies. Like, what are we doing?
What we're doing
No,
is beating your brains in the vote. That's what we're doing.
I'd argue there's great value on me at -110.
Go right
Paul has been waiting to say something. Paul, what is it?
I have a tip for Tim, and that would be to back up the Brinks truck, dump it on Geoff, because that way maybe he can afford a half-decent internet connection.
And to pay Paul. All things that would be true. Yeah, I don't know what's going. Your internet's just. I don't know what's going on in your building. You complain to the super that your internet's cussed.
Oh, is it doing the same thing again?
It's not as bad as last week, but yeah, it's clearly an internet problem. Like, yeah, you can hear like kind of the cut in and out. That it's just dropping a little bit, but it's not nearly as bad as last week. So
Okay,
it's
good.
marginal. So I don't want to get you rattled like last week. Don't need you getting mad at me and Paul.
I was trying to get him
Marginal,
rattled.
like
Are you?
Yeah.
Maybe he's just. Yeah, never mind. We'll leave it.
Who's doing Jeff's
I mean,
memes?
I want to ask Paul what he thought about that game yesterday. Because that was a very unimpressive performance from Buffalo, I thought.
I disagree.
Pretty good for a bottom 15 quarterback, eh, Top Cat?
No. I think he's like 8th or 9th, and I stand by that. And I was
That's
glad
insane.
to hear on the show last week, Davis came in squarely to make the point I've been making, which is that Lamar 10 times out of 10 is the better choice over Allen. There's really no debate.
So what you're doing
Okay,
is
but are there 9 other players
hold
better
on,
than Allen?
hold on. You're hitching your campaign. So whatever Davis says, you agree with? Is that what you're saying, Tim?
In this
Oh.
instance, he verified what I knew to be right a year ago.
But
you always
but you are always big on Davis doesn't know anything. But now he
I don't
does
think
know
that.
things.
I don't think that. I think he has some very good thoughts, and
Oh, you're breaking up.
Yeah, of course his internet.
this
cuts out
instance
this
where
time.
he and I see eye to eye. All right, well, I'm going to actually then cut my Wi-Fi off completely and restart it because that's no good. We can't subject people to that like we did last week. That's not fair.
What do you mean? Shut
So
it.
I will be back.
You're gonna
You
go.
know,
You're gonna
Paul,
go.
don't-
You're gonna unplug your router, or you're gonna just turn off the
Yeah,
Wi-Fi.
I'm going
and
to
come
push
back?
the reset. No, I'm going to reset the router because I did the Wi-Fi thing last week on and off, and it didn't work. But
Okay,
I didn't reset the router.
Don't reset.
gonna reset the router.
Don't reset the router. Unplug it. Wait for 10 seconds. Plug it back in. But you wait the whole 10 seconds. Okay, count it yourself.
Yeah, it's gonna take a little bit. So just as an FYI.
Pretend it's like the microwave and you're staring at it for 10 seconds as your pizza pocket is turning.
All right. I'll be back.
Okay.
Leave it.
Geoff, how do you feel about being the betting favorite for most insane?
I would argue, like, how does. Come on. -110, I think, is incredible value. People are just really gung ho, maybe, about Tim's early campaign. But in the end, how do you actually read every vote there? Read every category and then decide, yeah, like, no, there's actually a guy who's crazier or more insane on the show than the guy who had all these opinions I just read. If you're doing that, you're doing it for the gimmick. And that's okay. And maybe it would be interesting how that could play. But Tim's putting his heart into this one. So this could be a real great campaign to rip out from him again. Just putting it out there. But if you really think I earned it, then I earned it. You know, if not driving someone I I do lots for, like 2.5 hours to a football game to watch some backups, is going to swing your vote, or you think is the reason you're swinging your vote, then you're like voting into a rigged system. But that's okay. Just vote. We enjoy it. We'll do it.
Tim to be most
your own
insane.
adventure.
Tim to be most insane has got to be like the bet of the century.
At plus 110?
He's never lost. Like he's never not been deemed most insane.
It was very close 2 years ago.
Yeah, and Geoff was really insane that year. I don't think Jeff's been nearly
And I
as
went
insane this
insane.
year.
And Tim like was the first year he brought out meme energy. So that was like a new thing and people gave him credit for it. But what the hell? You're going to vote for a guy because like someone in corporate America's got too much time on his hands and is making him memes? Like they're fun and entertaining, but there's not a vote there.
Well, I enjoyed your meme, Geoff. The first one that you put out. I feel like you don't have enough memes. I feel like you could be doing more. Because I know that
I've got a backlog, but I don't want to be aggressive. I was actually going to see how Tim played it. I was pretty shocked that Tim really slow rolled my meme arrival. And maybe to your point, I should have suffocated him. I could have suffocated him. I've sort of got memes that can counteract what he does, and I'm sort of just waiting to counterpunch.
I think he's shook by how good your memes are, because this one is fire.
yeah, this one is excellent. This is my favorite meme that's been done yet of anyone's memes.
You know what? And since Tim's not here and he won't listen to this, you know, who did make well, I don't want to. I guess maybe I should out it, but let's just say the person who is making my memes is the person who's given us that gift that we will give Tim at some point.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
closer to the Super Bowl.
Well,
Might be more appropriate.
Well, I'm trying to see if Tim will take the day off work the Monday after the Super Bowl, and I'll have him in studio for when we do our Super Bowl recap, and then we can record the golf show with all three of us after, and then I can give him the gift in studio. Paul, I showed it to Paul today. I opened it today. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Shout out to Tony who has that gift, and I think the day after the Super Bowl is probably the most appropriate day.
Well, we have to award the Super Bowl winner, don't we?
Yes, we certainly do. So I can't wait for that already. But yeah, I don't know. He's him restarting his computer.
All right. Well, we
He's
vamped
got
for
so many things. I get worked up when I argue about it, but I don't know if that's what the people want. The people really want to see him win.
I mean, he's back to victory lapping Wyndham Clark again on Twitter as of today. Like Matt, like that would be my one hesitation here because I'm a voter as well. Although I am on the ballot, I suppose you could vote for Pat if you want. My odds are off the board, so are Paul's at this point. It's really a two-man race when it comes down to most insane. But I would ask the audience, it's fun. Like, would it be fun if Tim won and Geoff lost? Yes. Would the next 10 years of Tim bringing it up every show and talking about it for 5 minutes be worth it? I don't think it would be.
Like, don't you guys want to see what Tim's like? Don't you guys want to see Tim raise the game? Like, he's back here now. But my point being is, don't you want to see him raise the game in the sense that he's putting effort into this? He's clearly cared more about these campaigns in the last couple of years. That, like, make him work harder for it. That would be my answer to you. I can get crazier and in due time earn this award. Sure. But just because Tim's got some guy in corporate America with too much time on his hand making him memes, that's not a reason. Like, that shouldn't be the trump. Make Tim work harder. If you want to see me dethroned, make this guy work harder. He doesn't got 3 kids. He gets to drive an extra 30 minutes to the same store that's 5 minutes away. He's got the time for that. So he's got the time to put more into his campaigns. Make him do it. Make him earn this. He hasn't yet. He has not yet. Welcome back.
I didn't have to earn it. The things you said over the course of the last year.
DeMar Hamlin will be a pick'em. Like, what did I say? Boo, Jay Monahan's tummy ache. Wah.
Yeah, rehashing the things that people want to vote for you for, not a great idea.
No,
I'm not your campaign manager, but I would say probably don't do that.
Then referring to my campaign in such a way that you also demean a very important and valuable charity.
They know your charity.
Yeah, Tim, I'll put it this way. You're bringing up the stuff that people want to vote for you for. It's not like Tim is sitting here in studio eating corn dogs like a maniac every single week. He just did it the once. And then people try to forget about it.
I'm not afraid of those things. And maybe if people want to punish me for not being afraid of being right, then like I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. But Tim, I'll tell you this. Mutual destruction. Because I got someone in corporate America too with too much time on their hands.
Yeah, I think we figured out who.
Who?
Don't you? I'm not going to release the name of the Twitter handle, but we did
matter.
We did
I
some
can release
investigating.
your names too. What do you mean? You like who cares?
Well, you seemed to care when I mentioned it. You seemed to care when I mentioned it.
No, I just find it funny, but that's like I don't care. It's Tony, my boy.
I just don't know why you think getting into the meme war is going to do anything but result in you being crushed by much better memes from my team.
Yeah, I just need to participate. And
well,
again, so you've got someone in corporate America with more time on their hands. Congratulations. But I got a nuclear arsenal too. So if you want to go a meme war, like we can go.
I don't know if you have a better meme than that. That's a fire meme.
It's a good one.
Tim would call someone "you peasant" too. That's what I like about it.
Like it's an okay one. I think we've treated out like 4 or 5 better ones. We've got a really good one in the holster for the next time Geoff decides to, crack wise on X.
What's so funny is we both got really good ones in the holster. It's like.
Well, to help Tim's campaign, and Tim might agree with this, so this might end up being a wash. Pizzola texted me on the weekend, Tim, that Geoff let something trickle out during one of those live streams that they do over at thehammer.bet.
Oh, this got misconstrued, but I can debate this. Sure. Let's go.
Okay, so Pizzola said that Geoff pulled a U on the live watch-along show. He pulled a Cust moment where he said that he prefers eating McDonald's hamburgers cold to eating them warm. That's a take, Geoff.
Not cold. But like a steaming hot, super fresh Little Duke's cheeseburger. You want that thing like
room temperature?
I know this sounds weird, but you want that thing having sat in that fucking Duke's tray. If it's like, oh shit, if I go to the counter on the app and order the cheeseburger, dude opens the tray, there's no burgers left, and he's got to make a fresh batch, and then it goes right onto my burger. That doesn't taste like Duke's. True Duke's tastes like, something that's been sitting in that tray for not cold, but I'm telling you, that's my case. But like, yeah, like a Duke's chicken.
It needs to marinate the way that DC lady said DC's had to marinate, right, Geoff?
Yeah, I don't know. As Cam would say, coagulate. But he's a guy who would eat like day old mayo that was left out. That's not me. Okay, I'm just saying, not cold. I like it a little hot and fresh, like Duke's nuggets.
No, you don't like it hot and fresh. You don't like it hot and fresh.
No, I'm saying hot and fresh, like you want for the chicken and the French fries products at McDonald's. Now, if I go to my favorite like local burger shops, or even like other burger shops, hot, like I want it. I want it when you give it to me.
This is a bad take.
Duke's has a natural, like, I don't know, that burger, it tastes like my childhood when it's just a little quagged. That's all. So if people want to like hold that against me, that's Pizzola trying too hard. And that's a guy who's dodging these ballots himself. But one day.
Maybe one day. Maybe if we all get together and do a super show, like once a month or something like that, maybe Pizzola and Cam can find their way onto the ballot. But that is not the case. I do want to talk about football, weirdly enough, and recap last week how we did. As I mentioned to you guys pre-show, I lost the sheet. So I was 3-3. Geoff was 3-3. Cust was 2-4. The coin was 2-4. Although Cust planted his flag, he absolutely nailed Kansas City and that free money. So his super lock moves on versus you in the race for second. But the Packers plus 7.5 also came through for you. So that was really nice to see. So we're moving on to this week. You guys need super locks from the 4 games that we have remaining. But there's a few things that I think that we should probably talk about as it pertains to the NFL and things that have changed over the last little bit. Tim, does Sirianni or Mike McCarthy get fired? Because I say no.
I would have said yes Sunday night. I say no now. We're Tuesday and no one's lost their job. I think everybody's going to, there'll be no more additional firings.
Geoff?
To me, it's not even close when I say this. Sirianni deserves to lose his job so much more than McCarthy. We are talking about a team that fired a coach 2 years after winning a Super Bowl. 1 year after going to one does not cut it. Something happened there. And maybe it's so deep that like people in the know, like there were so many problems that people in the know don't even want to blame. Like he's absolved of some of the blame. But we watched a team truly like slowly rot over the course of the year.
We watched 2 teams do that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know because we're going to find out things that come out. Maybe you're right because I've been hearing about this like whatever happened between Dayball and Wink Martindale just turned out to be like something crazy with the Giants. But as it pertains to Sirianni, it's funny when they beat the Chiefs in that Monday night game, he went like crazy walking to the locker room. It was all downhill from there. But at the same time, both the receivers get banged up. They start losing guys on defense. Hurts his shoulder. But the bigger thing, at least to me, to think about it, was they punched above their weight for the first part of the season, ended up running up to 10-1. If they hadn't started 10-1 and then lost back, but they just ended up with the same record, but they were like, I don't know, 7-3 or something instead of 10-1, it feels like it would have been slightly different because the narrative around them really would have changed. And listen, Matt Patricia, I don't know who he's got blackmail on, but like when that guy is one of your coaches, things probably aren't going to go so great. And they lost both their coordinators in the offseason as well. Like that can't be understated. And very rarely does that happen, that you lose both coordinators coming off of a season that you have to replace them. They had free agents walk. Like their team just wasn't as good. And then where they were so healthy for so long in last year, they just weren't healthy this year towards the end when it mattered the most. So I don't think you can really hold that against him. Is he a good coach? I actually have no idea. But they were dealing very much like, there's like 3 or 4 teams that it happens every year, and it happened again this year. Just you go through so much attrition, and there's just some teams that have too much and they can't overcome it. Like not having AJ Brown in a playoff game, who's your best receiver, is kind of crazy. Like that sucks.
And then like not only that, but like the one play that always worked every single time didn't work in a key moment. And like you had to know last night, the second they didn't get that 2-point conversion, the game was lost. It's like the whole football world was telling you, the Eagles are just an empty tank. They got to the finish line and they had nothing. You're right. If they hadn't started at 10-1 and they had finished 11-6 based on, alternating some wins and having 1 or 2 little streaks, we all would have said, well, it's an underperformance, but teams that lose the Super Bowl often have a swoon. This team did too. They still made the playoffs. You regrouped. They had some injuries, but that hot start made the expectations unjust, where people thought, this is a juggernaut that is going to rip through the NFC. Is it better than San Francisco? Is it better than Dallas? And that didn't come to pass. I don't think Sirianni should lose his job. I don't think McCarthy should lose his job. I just think that things went sideways for them for different reasons. Just, Dallas had a bad game. It's unfortunate that it happened when it did, but they had a bad game. Eagles were just really hurt.
Every team that lost this weekend, like pretty much all the coaches, like I could argue could sell themselves still back. Not that you have to agree, but they could make a case they did an outstanding job. Truly. Sean McVay did so much with very little, and maybe even should have won that game. Stefanski with 4 quarterbacks, Tomlin and his voodoo to even put them in that situation. There's a lot to get into with the Dolphins, and we will, but they put themselves in that spot. But in terms of drawing that spot and that weather, whatever. Even McCarthy, like people thought, self-included, but I have my biases, that they would, without Kellen Moore, that things would not get better there. They certainly did. Dak looked at like an MVP at times. They won 12 games. With Sirianni, again, it just looked like it rotted. Whatever whatever the problem was, he couldn't identify it soon enough or even come close to fixing it. And that goes both macro to whatever that iceberg is that we only see the tip of the rot, but to the micro of the in-game. And like, they don't even stand a chance. Like, the blitz is coming. They're not even prepared for anything. Piggybacked off the Giant game the week before. I that was, I don't know. That was disgusting.
I agree with you. Yeah, it's tough. But, you talked about Dallas. Is Rabel or Belichick, remember, going to get a better season out of Dak than McCarthy just got? I don't think so.
It's not about the better season, though.
Well,
it's about
I
being more
think that's
prepared for the moment in the big game.
I'm not sure I agree. I'm not sure I agree.
Listen,
I want to maximize.
It's like when the Red Wings bring in Scotty Bowman because they haven't won. It's like that. Like, I don't know what he's going to do for 82 games,
right?
Well, no, I think
all I really care about is getting the most out of my star QB.
I think it's very akin to when the Chargers fired Marty Schottenheimer when they went 14-2. And then they lost in the playoffs.
Dumb decision. That was a dumb
decision. I agree. But I think that Sirianni and McCarthy are safe unless Belichick's like, I want to coach the Cowboys.
I really need to just draw a distinction there because it's not really the same at all. That was not nearly, that wasn't performance or playoff based. That was truly a coach and GM that hated each other and the owner had to make an ultimatum. And I really did like AJ Smith. He made some great trades and built an incredible roster, but they grew to hate each other. So that's kind of different, but in Dallas, it'd be about getting them over the top. It'd be about a playoff coach ready to answer the bell. Big moment. They're not going to win more than 12 games with Bill Belichick, but they might be more prepared to win a Super Bowl in a big game.
Mike McCarthy's won a Super Bowl. Like, people pretend like he hasn't won anything in his career. He's won a Super Bowl.
A shout out to Bomani Jones, who was on the Rich Eisen show and saying the hate on for Mike McCarthy is strictly like America cannot appreciate or respect like the fat man. They are not given the same leeway as other people. Even Andy Reid losing his job in Philly. But if listen, I kind of agree with it. And Pat probably, if he owned a company or owned a football team,
I do own a company.
Sorry, I get to sit in a chair all day. But I just mean, if you owned a football team, I think you'd look at a fat guy as a head coach and be like, he's not even disciplined to keep himself in shape. How can he keep my team disciplined or successful?
I don't think that's true at all, especially in football. Like we're not looking at beacon of health Bill Belichick over here. It's not like he's
that's a little different.
Not
level.
Not everyone is Matt LaFleur.
Cross a level. Bill's never come close to that level.
I mean, Daboll's a pretty hefty fella.
Yeah, and watch what's the knives are already sharpening for him.
Listen, they play poorly next year.
I'm just shouting out, but I'm not making that point. I think they should fire McCarthy, though. I do believe that they should, and I would fire Sirianni. The funny thing is, the owner in Philly is a lot more impatient than the perceived impatience of Dallas. Dallas has given everyone time. The only coach that we, in our lifetime as fans, that he didn't give more than 3 years to was Dave Campo, who won 5 games for 3 straight years. There's a coach that's won 12 games for 3 straight years. The Jason Garrett stuff, like Jerry is incredibly patient. Now, when stories like you wanted to be blocked from running to, you needed to be blocked from running to the phone to draft Johnny Manziel come out and are proven true, that can create a different narrative that's hard to take down. But their personnel there, man, Will McClay, he has turned down interviews for every single GM opening. He can't get the GM title because it's Jerry's. But there's a lot of great football people that do the legwork there that Jerry gets the credit for, but he's not as impulsive or as impatient as even myself likes to portray him as.
So you want Leslie Frazier to the Chargers, Tim?
What I said to Geoff was that if they don't get one of the big fish, and maybe they will, but I think they probably won't, then they need somebody who's got stability and common sense and will be like a CEO of the team. And I think someone like Leslie Frazier brings credibility to a team that's starving for it. So assuming they don't get Harbaugh or Vrabel or one of the big stars, and I kind of don't think they will. Maybe they will. I hope for Jeff's sake they do. But if they don't, then they need somebody like Leslie Frazier who brings credibility and seriousness to the job, which they
You
need.
think if the Chargers hired Leslie Frazier, the internet would commend them for the seriousness and credibility of the hire?
The internet is not a good barometer as to what does or doesn't constitute a good hire.
But you've told me you want the Chargers to hire Marvin Lewis or Leslie Frazier.
Yeah,
and
I think those would be incredibly good hires.
But
If you can't
A
get one of the
But-
big
but-
stars.
hold on.
Coach,
Hold
I'll
on.
kill myself.
Hold on. All you've done is rail about how terrible the Bills' defense is for 3 years, and you want them to hire Leslie Frazier?
Well, he's not on the defense this year.
But it was the exact same as last year, just a soft team, soft defense, and he was
Well,
the coach.
but I think that comes from the top down. I think that's more of a problem with the way McDermott is running the team than Frazier. I like Leslie Frazier. I think he was a good
by
coach in
the
Minnesota.
way-
I think he'd be fine.
Going back to your soliloquy off the top, everyone knows what's going on. Like, you put so much rage into the Dolphins that now, they've died, but now it's like you are Thanos trying to collect the bills on your hand here, right?
Yeah, well, I got one
Like-
more Infinity Stone left, and it's going to be mine very quickly. Very quickly. If you think that laying points into Patrick Mahomes is sane, you go right ahead.
Okay, and when we do our postseason rankings show that are on different terms than wins and losses, you're probably gonna have the Jets higher than every AFC's team.
No, I would not. I think this was a very good year for Buffalo. I think they showed incredible resolve, even though they didn't play very well down the stretch, winning those games and getting to this position. I didn't think they even had that in them. So they're to be commended for that.
But
Yeah.
I don't. If a defensive retread, that would be my worst nightmare. The only defensive retreads I could get behind would be the winningest coach in the history of the time, but that would have to come with some stipulations. Or I don't even love it, but someone like Raheem Morris, who was literally so young when he got that job, that it's almost. I would almost even not even fully grade him on it. But I don't want he would still technically fit the retread category of defense.
So I have something I want to throw out as it pertains to the Dolphins, Tim.
Okay,
Ready for this?
sure.
Dolphins trade for Justin Fields.
That would be smart.
That's what
That
I would
team
do
would.
if I was the Dolphins. The draft pick isn't all that high. Chicago's doesn't seem like they're getting a first-round pick for Fields. It seems like it's second at best, if that. Or put together 3 first-round picks and trade for the first pick and draft Caleb Williams.
I would rather have Fields. I actually think McDaniel would be able to maximize what Fields' skill set is in that offense and actually teach him to be a better quarterback. I actually like that a lot because if you're the Dolphins, it's really between that and paying Tua.
You can't pay Tua.
Way too. You can't
Could
can't pay him.
you
we-
even do the Daniel Jones thing?
No, because that just
Well, I mean, they may
just-
be forced to. They
they
may be forced to.
You're right. They might be forced to, but I feel like that just sets you back. You're kicking it. It'd be like if, they're probably going to do it anyway, regardless of what happens this week. It's like if all of a sudden Tampa's like, you know what, Baker, here's a 5-year deal, or here's 4 years, $120 million. It's like Tua and Baker to me are in the same bucket. Like they're good enough to be starting quarterbacks in the NFL. They are one of the 2 of the 25 best starting quarterbacks on earth, but they're probably somewhere between 15 and 25. Where
I actually
Field,
think Tua would thrive from a different team and a different experience.
Ooh,
Are you
I mean,
kidding
I don't
me?
know.
No,
Are you kidding me?
Baker and Goff, who were both the first picks in the NFL draft, needed to go elsewhere to really find their mojo to perform at their best level.
Tua
And I
will
actually
never-
think
no, no,
Tua
no.
getting out of Miami, getting away from that pressure, going somewhere like Baker did, learning for a year or so on a different team, getting into a different system. I don't think McDaniel sets up Tua for success at all.
So
You're
here, so
insane.
hold on,
You
no,
know.
hold on,
You're a
hold on,
psychopath.
hold on.
In the same way that McVay had to read the offense, read the defense for Jared Goff. He wasn't setting Goff up for success.
He didn't get rid of Goff because Goff wasn't good enough. He got rid of Goff because he made
Stafford
too
was
much
better.
fucking money. That is it.
And he
could've
could
lived
get
with
Stafford.
Goff.
It was
He
because he
could've-
could get
yes,
Stafford.
But
Obviously.
he could have lived with Goff if Goff wasn't making that money. Like, they may have found a different way, but they paid so much to unload him, get rid of him, and get Stafford back. Tua outside of Miami, I love to see, like, what could happen to him on a team deprived of talent would be scary. He might not be better than Baker, because I'll tell you what can Baker Mayfield do? Baker can
Can
make
chuck it.
something on a second level of a play. When a play breaks down, Tua is great. If the play can get off in 2.5, 3.5 seconds, Tua is great. But the second there's any kind of anything, it's just a dead play. It's just a dead play. So to think of, to Pat's point, Justin Fields being able to extend plays with the speed they have, I assume it would be like all the other teams by some point with those sorts of quarterbacks who have that sort of speed. At some point, someone's going to be open. Can he get in the ball? That's a different case. But Tim, if I was Tua, or maybe even Tua's agent, I would be like, you got to stay here. And maybe you take less money to stay here, because your career, you do not want to go anywhere else. And like, you do not, because on the open market, I don't know what the market is for him.
So
The Dolphins certainly will not negotiate against themselves for Tua like other teams do for top quarterbacks, where they're essentially just negotiating against themselves. But if I'm the Dolphins and I'm McDaniel, who watches his friend and his apprentice, the guy, his mentor, Kyle Shanahan, win with any quarterback he puts in there, that's where McDaniel's head is probably at. But Tua, at the right price, McDaniel will keep him.
I just don't know what your ceiling is with that. And granted, listen, they got beat up towards the end of the year as well. They had no defense left. But I think if you want to maximize, and I agree with you that Tua isn't a great situation with Mike McDaniel. He's trying to maximize, at least with what he wants to run, for what Tua can do. But I think that there's a cap on where they could go, where if you had Fields, and I don't even know if Fields is good or not, but I think that with Mike McDaniel in that offense, it's speed everywhere. It's speed on the outside, speed on the inside, speed out of the backfield, everywhere except for the guy throwing the ball, to your point, that could extend plays or enhance the running game in a way. And when you get into, I don't want to say just straight up that Tua is a terrible cold weather quarterback. He doesn't look good in the cold. That at least Fields has the experience playing outdoors, and if all else fails, he can either chuck it as far as he can, he has a huge arm, or he can run. At least when you get to this part of the season, and maybe some of your speed is mitigated, that all of a sudden Justin Fields ends up becoming, and then you can trade Tua to Atlanta for a third-round pick or something. He'd be fine in Atlanta with this crop of receivers that they have.
But if you trade for Fields, and I like that for this year, you're then preparing yourself to pay.
You are paying
contract.
him. Yeah, you're paying him.
And like, I'm no more excited trading or paying Fields, who Chicago's not keeping because they can't win a Super Bowl with him, and then trading for a guy and who you also probably can't win a Super Bowl with. Because if you could, then the Bears would have kept him, right? Like,
no, see, I think that
I wouldn't be happy. I would not be happy with either.
Credit. The Dolphins do deserve credit for picking up the fifth-year option. It's like the $20 million number that the Giants didn't do with Daniel Jones, and it ended up costing them. So,
Yes.
because at the time, people were like, I was even good. And I thought they should do it for no other reason than you're almost biting the bullet, like, for his confidence. Like, to make this year successful, secure him into next year, because if you don't, then that just becomes a never-ending story. So I do give them credit for giving him that option that a lot of people after the concussion rail last year didn't want to give him. If you're Tua, though, like, you're going to stand on, I led the league in passing yards. You told me to stay healthy. I stayed healthy. Now it's my turn to get paid. He's had an injury concerns. So I'm sure him and his agent will look for the maximum amount of money, but his agent needs to find out the absolute maximum Miami would pay him and then fucking take that. Because I've never disagreed more with Tim to think that a better situation exists anywhere for Tua, or that he would even get the opportunity in a situation ready to win.
I think he could get better going somewhere else.
So like Geno
and
Smith,
getting
he can
out of
grow,
that.
like, sure, but that's not what the Dolphins can go win a Super Bowl with that roster.
Which is why but not with him. So I think the
I
Dolphins
also
need
do
to
think
part
it's
ways.
unfair to totally judge Tua on the cold. Yes, there are cold games. You have to be able to win and thrive in them. That was a level of
All right, we'll judge them on the game against Buffalo the week before, where Buffalo threw the game away and they still couldn't beat them.
them putting themselves in that spot is what is killing Dolphin fans, not losing in Kansas City on a Saturday night.
No, it wasn't that game. You're right. It was the 3 or 4 games before.
Titan
The
game,
Dolphins looked
the
sloppy.
5 minutes to end the Titan game.
It just, even to look at that Kansas City game, and again, I fully acknowledge that they weren't playing at complete full health, but neither is Kansas City at the same time, although they're far healthier, and maybe that their injuries actually helped them out in the receiving core with Kadarius Toney not being in, so he could drop every single pass. But even in the frigid weather, terrible conditions, Mahomes was still making it look easy to pass, where everything the Dolphins did looked like the hardest thing in the world. It looked like the Jets' offense all of a sudden with Zach Wilson.
If the play doesn't go off in 3 seconds, it looks hard. And it's like, I don't know, are you picking on Tua to say like him throwing a 25-yard pass looks like he's winding up like a pitcher? Yeah. And you watch the other quarterbacks do it, and they're literally just like, it's like the tiniest little flick.
Yeah, it's just Stroud is throwing off, him and Jordan Love are throwing off their back foot like 40-yard like ropes over defenders' heads when there's pressure in their face. Like just being a big body is very helpful, and Fields is a big body. So that's why I like I said, I don't think that Tua is valueless. I think he should be starting somewhere. And a team like Atlanta, which could use a huge upgrade at quarterback, I think that Tua would be a huge upgrade. So work out some sort of 3-way deal. Like
I agree.
Ultimately, if it was me and I was Miami, I would go in to try to get. I would go all in, sacrifice the next 3 years of first round picks to try to go get Caleb Williams or whoever it is that you rate at number one. I don't. Just let me fucking finish, Geoff. Can you do that?
Yeah, sure. But if you think 3 picks from like 24 is going to get you Caleb.
Can you let me finish?
Okay,
you go. Continue.
I don't need a trade chart to know it'll take you way more than 3 fucking first rounders to go from where they sit to get to 1. That's all I know.
Oh no, continue. You're hosting the show now. Go ahead.
Happy to host. If they get into, there's just no path for them to upgrade. The upgrade is Kirk Cousins via free agency, or trying to just literally pay nobody and pay everyone else and find somebody in a draft, a less highly touted quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round, and do what Kyle Shanahan has done and make quarterbacks. But they do not have the organizational capabilities to get into the top 5. They do not. There's nothing there that could make that happen.
What did it take last year for Carolina
from
to move
9
up?
to 1?
From 9 to 1 plus DJ Moore in a 2nd round pick?
Okay, yeah. 9 to 1.
So
maybe it was even 7 to 1.
So 2 firsts and Jalen Waddle? 3 firsts and Jalen Waddle? Something like that? That's more than they just got for the number 1 pick.
My concern would be if you're going to go all in, I don't think you go all in for a rookie quarterback, right? You go all in for somebody else.
Anyway, the point I was trying to make was that's probably not feasible. That's why trading for Fields makes sense.
I agree with you.
I agree, and I apologize for cutting you off, because if you're going to throw in players like a Waddle with the current wide receiver contractual market, granted he will be due the mother load soon as well. Yeah, you could get rid of some of that picks bargain, but then you're getting rid of Waddle. I do agree. I think they'd have to identify somebody, a situation that's maybe low pro, a problem, but those don't exist. Like, they're fucking quarterbacks. Where does that exist?
That's why you got to get your hands on one any way possible. Just look at who's
Fields
left and hope they stay healthy.
Yeah, Fields would make sense for them,
But
they just don't.
hold on.
I don't know what they're going to do. It's a tough spot.
No,
they don't want to pay either.
You see, I would think that Fields makes more sense. And you said that, and I agree with you. They're probably not going to. Fields can't win a Super Bowl in Chicago, but I do think that the coaching staff, and especially Mike McDaniel in general, is just a huge upgrade over what they have in Chicago. That putting them into that system, especially with the players that they currently have, You have to bite the bullet and say, hey, we're going to pay. If you had the choice, Tim, and it was you, and you had to give out a 5-year contract, because quarterbacks don't grow on trees, you don't have a very high pick, and even with Tua, it's not like you're going to be like actively bad next year, that you're going to have the second overall pick or something, and you have to make that choice. Who you giving the 5-year deal to, Fields or Tua? I would give it to Fields.
I have to give it to Fields. You just can't give it to Tua. You can't pay him that kind of money. You risk ruining your franchise long term doing that.
Tua to New York after Rodgers retires?
We'll worry about that after Rodgers retires.
Is that
I do think here's the thing. If the Dolphins go into next season and it is Tua, which is clearly the probable situation, it's a very workable number. And because I'm sure Dolphin fans are like pulling their hair out, and Tim hasn't even really.
No, Dolphins fans know what's going on here. Like everyone likes Tua, but they don't feel good about it.
No, they all knew that they were going out 3 weeks ago. Yeah,
but they really thought
it wasn't as much fun.
They thought at their core a lot of their issues were fixed, and they still couldn't get out of a round. So I was with some hardcore Dolphin fans on. You're right. Like Saturday didn't burn them as much as like the lead into Saturday, but I would like fast forward to a season preview show, and it's the same Dolphin team, like to a quarterback. I'll be talking glowingly about them.
Yeah, they'll be in the running. They'll be in the running to win the division. They'll probably win 11 games, something like that. They're not going to be bad, like because Tua's not bad. But this is but now that you've made the playoffs 2 years in a row, exited in the first round. I don't think Tua's Lamar, because this was the knock on Lamar until he finally got a playoff win, and he had an MVP under his belt at the same time, which Tua does not have, at least at the moment. Maybe he ends up winning MVP in a huge upset. Who knows? Because people love them some Tua. That it just becomes an unworkable situation that unless everything breaks right, like everyone stays healthy, that would have to be number one. The defense got annihilated, and they were running like guys from 15 years ago out on their defensive line at that point. And then, maybe you can have a top 5 defense, and that can help you bridge some of these games where the offense isn't completely clicking. And then you would need to have like the 1 seed and have all your games at home or indoors and good weather. Like there's so much that needs to break right for you just to have a chance right now. With this blueprint. And the chance is there. I'm not saying it's not. It's just very unlikely that I do think that this Fields probably lowers their floor, raises their ceiling. Because he's more of an unknown. At least with Tua, you know what you're getting, and you can work around that. I think that's what Mike McDaniel likes. With Fields, I mean, maybe he can't harness Fields' ability. Maybe he'll just always be that toolsy guy on paper who doesn't put it all together, just continues to make really terrible situations by trying to do so much. But if you could rein him in, that's the skill set I would want.
The emotional indictment on Tua from Saturday, from what I gathered, was it's like, what the F? Last year we had to roll out Skylar Thompson in this spot, and at least like we battled. They're like, at least like I don't know, that guy showed something. And like, why can't this guy show anything? So that's sort of like the emotional, like in the moment headspace that I felt was coming from the Dolphins. But yeah, I don't know, McDaniel could be cocky enough to just try to copy the Kyle Shanahan approach.
But they also got lucky that they found Brock Purdy, who's pretty good.
Yeah, I guess they had Jimmy G, which was a quality veteran, and probably
the Dolphins should be drafting quarterbacks as well in the 3rd and 4th round. They should continue to keep trying to hit.
But there's also a huge distinction. I mean, I think that the skill guys are better in San Francisco than they are in Miami, but let's call them a push because Tyreek's awesome and Waddle is awesome, and Mostert and Achane are very good as well. Like they're comparable that way. What's the big difference between those two teams? One of those teams has an offensive line, the other one doesn't. So it's easier to put in that type of quarterback. And much better
defensive players, too.
Well, I mean, I would say that I haven't looked at the DVOA. I bet you Miami and San Francisco were pretty close. San Francisco, sneakily, has no back end to their defense. You can throw on San Francisco.
This could be really unfair, but I made the comparison early in the year that I kind of see Purdy and Tua, very similar. And I don't know if that's a knock on anybody or a compliment. I honestly don't even know in this landscape. But to that, I mean, it's like clearly they are system quarterbacks. Like if no other reason than the coaching and the talent around them, we're still declaring them system QBs. But then they have moments. And Purdy, like Tua, there's these moments where they make a throw and it is like such a dime and it's in a big moment. And I know, like, maybe not in the big games for Tua. You're like, holy shit. Like, I don't know if he's elite, but he's way more than a system quarterback. Like, those are perfect balls that he drops in sometimes into really tight windows. So I also do see that with Tua, but his limitations just seem so much.
Well, this goes back to your Sam Darnold is great point from every year that he was on the Jets. Like, you only ever look at what the best plays are, not what they normally do in these situations. And I would say the big difference between Purdy and Tua, yeah, he's playing in a better offense, behind a better offensive line, and probably better skill players. But at least dude can move.
Yeah, you got to move. If you can't move, you're just useless now, I feel.
It would have to be
Jared Goff doesn't move.
That's true.
You're right.
He's okay.
And he's benefited from the
also,
best two tackles in center in football and so
you're
much
right.
motion on offense, much like Tua.
You have to mitigate it.
But that's why I think that, weirdly, Atlanta would be a good spot for Tua, because when does Goff play well and when does Goff not play well, by and large?
Well, he doesn't play well in the cold. Is that what we're talking about?
He straight up doesn't play well outdoors. Like, he needs his optimal conditions. And Tua's always been really good in optimal conditions, too. It's just once you start adding in that extra element of grass, it's a little bit slower, it's a little bit cold, it's a little bit rainy, it takes away from them more than it does a lot of more improvisational quarterbacks, larger quarterbacks, faster quarterbacks, better armed quarterbacks, that it's harder to run the sort of plays that you want to run when elements are involved and not in ideal conditions.
The guy led the league in passing yards, and the season's over for him. And we have a discussion: is he the reason? Like, is he what holds them back? Like,
well, there's
a problem. He's a problem.
Listen,
I go back and forth on it too, because I have these moments where it's his fault. And I have moments where, like, that's the craziest thing ever. He led the league in passing yards. He stayed healthy. If we had this conversation in September, we'd be like laughing at throwing stones today, but your eyeballs can't help but throw some stones.
The Dolphins have a very short window, and that window is closing. Tyreek's already, 30? Like, they're running out of some time. Bradley Chubb is getting older. They need to start winning and winning soon. They haven't got time to wait.
Scrimshaw will know what show it was, because I absolutely cannot remember. But I remember us having a discussion. It was either week 4, 5, or 6. And I just posed the question to you guys. Like, it's great that Miami's playing well right now. What happens in December and when it gets cold? And that will answer a lot of our questions. And granted, they ended up very injured by that time, but it didn't go well again.
No,
and
it's going to keep not going well.
And there's a reason that we're having this discussion about Tua, but we're not having it about Jalen Hurts. Because I don't think anyone thinks that Jalen Hurts is the problem.
Hurts is also hurt.
I agree.
And it's been hurt. It has been hurt for weeks.
Yeah, everyone.
An important reason as to why Philadelphia hasn't looked good the last month and a half.
It's been beyond that. He hurt his knee probably in week 7 or 8. Remember those 3 weeks where he didn't have a rushing attempt? It was like, what the hell is going on here?
His knee was hurt. He broke a finger. Like, the guy was hurt. He was, in line to be an MVP this year as well. He got hurt.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Tuanon is up to right now, but there are a lot of good quarterbacks that lose games.
Oh, they're blaming all the injuries. It's not his fault.
But that is kind of fair. I don't like context does matter.
Okay.
As a Justin Herbert fan, Charger fan,
but again,
I have to be part of the team that says context matters. Like, I can't not.
But the discussion isn't, does Tua suck? Should he be out of the league? The discussion is, for the Dolphins, if they're going to be a real Super Bowl contender, do they have to move on and do it quickly? That's the question.
Yeah, do it quickly.
You have to. Yeah. You can't pay him that money. You just can't.
But they don't have to pay him yet. Pat's almost asking, can they even waste next year?
I would say no, you don't.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Because
what they're going to do anyway.
Because what's going to happen? Tua's going to come back. They're going to be healthy. They're going to play well. They're going to win 11 or 12 games. Hell, they might win the AFC East. They'll get a home playoff game and play some jabroni team in the first round and beat them, and then they will have to give Tua the money.
Yeah.
They could tag him. They could kick it down the road again. That's the thing. And at $20 million next year on the 50-year option, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt them. Tua is sensitive though, but maybe you want him playing with the chip on his shoulder next year and needing to play for the contract, or maybe the Dolphins try to bully him and lowball him because he's had some health issues and say, here's a chance it's it's not like a Burrow Hurts Herbert lifetime security, but here's $125 million for here's the thing. You guys are saying they shouldn't even engage in like a Daniel Jones.
I wouldn't. You
I
either go
wouldn't
all
be
in or
Geno
you
Smith,
move on.
like a
You either go all in or you move on.
I agree with Tim. And this isn't a discussion to say that next year the Dolphins should cut Tua and have no replacement. Like, you replace Tua with the person that you want going forward. That's the only way this works.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's I'm glad we were able to get off on that. We should probably get into the games that are happening this weekend. Few announcements. Geoff, I'm going to be live on Lowell's this week. Your favorite show.
all right, like it. What's you don't have to tell me the topic. I was like backlogged a couple episodes, but I always like catching up. I enjoy like I've always said, Pat. I always enjoy when there's some some true drama in the space.
Yeah,
in
well,
the space.
I regret to inform you for cutting me off. You're fired, and that's what I'm going to be talking about on that show.
I don't even think that would be worth like a whole show.
You don't think that if I fired you and hated your guts, that we wouldn't get I wouldn't get a show out of that?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, if we had some backstory that like something and you hated me, then yeah. But if like it was still okay, that's different. Yeah, that would be doing a show on that would get you way more clicks than ranking tight ends, as I've often said.
Yeah, this is true. Tight ends, not the best SEO value, Tim, on that one, regardless of who you have talking about the tight ends. Additionally, Movie Club is back, as I've mentioned a few times that I'm going on vacation after the Super Bowl. I'll have brand new shows every single day. Don't worry about that. You got fresh content coming your way, but one of them is going to be a Movie Club because I joined the Underrated podcast to do a show. Did I tell you about this, Tim? What movie I went on and talked about?
No.
Southland Tales.
Oh,
What?
that's an awful movie.
Yeah, well, I think it's underrated. That's why I went on the underrated. People, you don't have to go watch Southland Tales. And objectively, it is not a good movie. I happen to love it. Any movie that stars The Rock and Stifler that isn't also The Rundown is another movie, then I'm all in on it. But I'm going to release a show where I talk about Southland Tales with someone else for an hour. If you want to be part of the discussion, I would say go watch Southland Tales. Buy it for like $2 on Amazon or something. It's probably the only place where you can find it, but I wanted to throw that out to the people so they're not just blindsided. They'll be coming sometime towards the end of February, probably like February 20th, something around that range. The games this weekend: Houston at Baltimore. Baltimore favored by 9, coming off the bye week. Tambo, who is a Ravens fan, Tim, mentioned something. He's pumped that Lamar is going to win MVP, and he kind of said, that's kind of through attrition and circumstance that Lamar ended up being MVP this year. The thing that he is most excited about is how good the Ravens defense is, and they're the real MVP for this team this year.
I think that's a bit of hyperbole.
I don't think they're the number one ranked defense. They're better than the Browns.
like they are. I don't know that they are the MVP. And I say that's a little vibrant, but they're obviously playing excellently. I don't like the Texans' chances in this game. I mean, as well as they played on Saturday afternoon, and they played really well, it helped that the Browns sort of like were participants in giving that game away as much as the Texans were just taking it from them.
I would push back on your assessment of that game. The Browns gave it away because they felt the need to press because the Texans were putting it to them.
But that's all. But the Browns game is always to press. It's always to throw deep and take chances and go for it on fourth down. So anyway, I look at this and I just think the Texans are in real tough. I'll be very curious to see whether they can hit some deep passes, and I don't think that they will. And I expect the Ravens to dispatch them relatively comfortably. Baltimore may have more trouble next week. In fact, they'll have a lot of trouble maybe against the Chiefs, but not this week. I think they get through the Texans relatively easy. We'll say 34-14 for Baltimore.
I like the Texans in this game, Geoff. And I mean, part of it has to do with the elements playing outside in Baltimore. We saw this game earlier this season in Baltimore, and Baltimore absolutely waxed them in week 1. But weirdly, the Texans moved the ball pretty well in that game, and that was week 1 of CJ Stroud. Now he's had a whole season to get better, and he really has gotten better. But it's weirdly, and this could completely flip the other way, and Lamar just might do what he did against the Dolphins and pass for 5 touchdowns and 400 yards, and then it's a moot point. But this iteration of the Texans defense is staunch against the run. They're staunch in the front 7 in terms of like limiting big plays. Out of the teams that are left in the AFC playoffs, I actually think their defense is best constituted to not let Lamar break like a 35-yard run and break your back in these games. I think he can do it to the Chiefs. I think he can do it to the Bills. Obviously, he can do it against the Texans, but I actually think they have the personnel to keep him at least in the pocket, and I think that gives you a chance. When you take away Lamar's ability to break your back by getting outside the pocket, it makes him more... Keeping him in one dimension instead of a three-dimensional player is how you beat the Ravens, and I think they have a chance at doing that. So it's 9 points. I'll take the 9 points.
I'm really torn on this one. I do agree it is a lot of points, and maybe the spread isn't giving the Texans enough credit, and maybe is giving Baltimore with an MVP quarterback and a bye too much credit. But I just see Baltimore winning this game, and then in the moment of winning, you know, when they have Houston with their backs against the wall, they make like a back-breaking play that covers the number. Like, that is how I envision it. It's not something I am betting on because I am scared. I do think it is a lot of points, and DeMeco Ryans and the Texans, like, truly unbelievable. They won a playoff game. They have the rookie quarterback. They are now giving Arizona the 25th pick or something. Like something amazing for Will Anderson, for Houston, that is. Like, who saw that coming on that part of that trade? They, depending on how the end of the season shakes out, like, it's almost impossible that they aren't like a top 5 team in the end of season future rankings. You mentioned that Baltimore defense, Pat. I'm obsessed with this defensive coordinator. If things break down for the Chargers, he would be a guy I'd love to hire. The one negative for me is I worry that the locker room would just look at him and be like, why the fuck did we just hire like a Staley 2.0? Just like on the visual optics of it, strictly like visually and narrative, it'd just be such a, oh my God, what did we just do here? But I love him. I think he's great. I'm picking Baltimore to cover this number.
Did you know that Cust has abandoned his pick of the Detroit Lions to win the Super Bowl and will receive no credit?
Why?
I didn't pick them to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, NFC title game versus Dallas.
I picked them to go to the Super Bowl.
Oh, sorry, that's right. You had them losing to the Jets in the Super Bowl, but you are firmly on team San Francisco versus Baltimore now.
Yeah, and I was before the playoffs began, and
but you couldn't even wait. Like, you couldn't even ride Detroit to the NFC title and then be like, I'm picking San Fran.
Well, I don't want to ruin things, but they're not getting to the NFC title game anyway.
Who?
Detroit.
I can't wait to talk about the game, but
after what I saw last night, I think Detroit is in a world of hurt.
Tampa played nobody.
They're gonna blitz.
They played a team that didn't try.
Goff.
We're not on that game.
All right, fine.
Do you remember the game we're talking about?
Yes, we're concluding the Houston-Baltimore game.
I will throw this out here to the people because it just happened to Dallas. There's no chance they could have lost last week, right, Geoff? Dallas is rolling. Dallas is at home. What happened? They pulled a Dallas like they do every year in the playoffs. As a reminder, Lamar has more picks than touchdowns in his playoff career and threw for 2 once, and that was in that game they lost to the Chargers. It hasn't been good for Lamar in the playoffs.
No, it certainly hasn't been.
Okay, I agree. I feel like he's ready for this moment, at least versus this team.
Sure.
And you want to know something, Pat? This week, in this moment, well, my hopes are like just totally level. We're not getting excited. I'm part of the family for the moment, okay? I trust this coach. I trust the bloodline.
Oh, my
Great
God.
with extra time. We're riding with the familia. in this moment until otherwise. You
Pack
laughing at me, buddy?
I am. That's quite a take.
the
I
coin.
so badly want Jim Harbaugh to coach my team that I'm going to cheer for John Harbaugh, his brother, with some sort of like reverse family connected bank shot. That's quite a take.
Green Bay at San Francisco. The Niners are 9.5-point favorites in this game. McCaffrey is back to full practice. That was a huge blessing that he was able to sit week 18 and get the bye week to ensure his health coming into it, because they're going to need everyone to be healthy. We saw what happens when they're not completely healthy earlier this season, and they lost 3 games in a row. We saw, obviously, if Brock Purdy has to play a game with a torn UCL, that they're probably not going to be so great either at that point. So health is paramount this time of year. Do the Packers have enough good vibes to do this again? I think they might. At least give them a game here, like a shootout-style game.
Be interesting. The last few times they played in the playoffs,
Kaepernick.
well, they
killed
played.
them.
Yeah, well, the last time they played, Green Bay was the 1 seed, and San Francisco went into Lambeau in that snowy game and sort of broke their hearts. You wonder if Green Bay could do the same. I mean, the path to victory comes through love, being able to exploit the secondary on San Francisco. But no, I don't see it happening. The Niners are about as healthy as they're going to be, about as loaded for bear as they're going to be. I think this should be a close game, and I am going to take the points, but I don't see the Packers having quite enough to get over the finish line. I think it's like a 27-20 type of game for San Francisco. An interesting one. Yeah, they're calling for some rain or a little bit of rain, but I think that it's an advantage for the Niners. They can just go to the ground. They love to run the ball, and they have lots of people who can run that ball and take advantage with exotic zone stretches and stuff like that to perplex the Packers. Should be an interesting game, but in the end, I think San Francisco wins and doesn't cover.
I was surprised at how well Green Bay's defense played in Dallas. Like that.
Yes.
That astonished me, Geoff. Do you think that defense can show up again, despite us not seeing that defense at any other point during the season?
Well, if you did a bit of a deep dive on what sort of happened, if you've done, like myself, had the wasted time digging into some post-mortems of that game.
Oh no! How do you have time to do that? You're so busy. You only have you don't have time to make memes. You don't have time to run a campaign. You've got 3 children. You're constantly busy. You told us.
I don't have time
you
to
had
drive
time
30
to rip
minutes.
into this Cowboys.
I don't have time to
all
drive.
Of a sudden,
I do not
it's
have
interesting
time.
when Geoff has time and when he doesn't have time. To
I do not have time to drive to neighboring towns.
Hoist it on your own petard, Geoff.
Stop. Let me talk.
Okay.
I do not have time to drive to neighboring towns when the store is 3 minutes from my house. I have 3 kids and 2 dogs. Me and those dogs, we go on some walks and I listen to content. Okay, that's where most of my content is coming from. Cold weather, earbuds. Now, the Cowboys, Tim, well, there's many levels I can go here. I don't even know if I'm allowed to get credit for all my Packers preseason love. When I sort of apologized at some point in the season for having the preseason love. So when you apologize for something and then it comes back around, don't really know where you stand on credit. I will say I'm almost certain this game itself was my NFC title game. So we are here today. Do you remember, Tim? It doesn't take a big memory, who my doomsday head coaching candidate was?
Your doomsday head
Like worst case, I'll be the saddest. Tip, he's retread defense.
Dan Quinn?
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn. That's your worst case?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've said that many times. Anyhow, the predictability in which they rolled into a playoff game with on both sides of the ball. Jordan Love knew what was coming. Between the motions and the checks, that you see any postmortem, he's changing plays right into it. Right into it. Guys running scot-free. They were so goddamn predictable on Sunday on both sides of the ball in Dallas. They got killed. I love this Packers team. I am so jealous of this Packers team. Do you know what their entire receiving core, I think including those 2 tight ends, is making on the books next year? It's like $14-15 million. I'm paying Mike Williams and Keenan close to 45. maybe 50. Don't worry, we're gonna have to figure some things out there, rip some band-aids off. I'm obsessed, but the right ends, like they're gonna get their doors blown off here.
San Francisco for Geoff. I am taking San Francisco as well in this game. I would like to see it in big shootout, but I do worry that they kind of, it's the same problem that might happen to Houston, where these two teams that weren't expected to be good but had promising young players, they kind of did it. They made the playoffs and they got a win. Like, their seasons have been successful at this point. That, not to say they're not going to try to win these games, but they kind of won their Super Bowl at this point.
LaFleur put on a clinic. Like, he put on a clinic, a pre-snap clinic, and had his quarterback prepared. Marvelous.
Is there any more to that, or
no? I just like reliving it. It was truly a clinic.
Okay. Let's go to the midway point of the show, which means it's time for a mini version of Cust Corner.
Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. He's got the hottest takes with the highest stakes. He should be president of the United States, but it's Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner,
I was so amused by a conspiracy theory that you had yesterday, Pat, that I feel like we need to like open that bottle of red wine and let it breathe, because it was so wild, and yet I think you might be right. Which was namely that the awful and horrific officiating we see week out and week in the NFL is actually intentional, insofar as the league wants the refereeing to be bad because they want people to watch, they want people to engage, they want people to complain. And when I thought of that, the first thing was like, that is insanity. But the more I thought about it, it's like, actually, it's crazy like a fox. So, I mean, would you like to expand on that? Because I actually think it's a wild idea.
It's not. Look, is it true? Probably not, but I can see it being true. Like, we've talked for 10 years. Why can't they just put a chip in the ball? They can. We know that they can, but they don't. Why don't they?
Yeah, why do we continue to use pieces of metal on sticks rather than like the way the Aussie Open is this weekend, using a digital imprint of the court to know whether the ball is in or not? Maybe they want it this way. Maybe they want it so that Geoff's dad is the one deciding where a punt goes out of bounds as he's running down the sidelines from 30 yards away to get it wrong.
It's simply cost-benefit analysis. They've realized they don't lose anything from it. And to Pat's point that I guess he made, in some way, the engagement from it in some way can be a positive, will always come back. Even if it's your season ending on a horrific call, guess what? Come September, you can't wait. Like, you run through a wall to have it back. Like, are you still always burned up about a bad call, but you're never going anywhere? And they are smart enough to know we don't go anywhere. It's not even bad calls. You could relate it to like bad games, like with the metrics. They've got numbers behind it all. They do. And they've certainly run the numbers on the cost of full-time officials and the cost of a league-wide infrastructure technology implementation, and it's still, there's nothing to gain from it.
And
like, you more credible.
You
like,
kind of,
even through the jokes, it's the most credible league on earth.
You kind of hit on it. Because of the bad officiating and bad calls that could potentially end a season, it's actually a one-way street with it, because the team that lost complains that they got screwed, and then they're all jazzed up for next year because, we should have won it last year. We're definitely going to win it this year. Then no one really pays attention to the other side. The team that wins on the bad call, it's not like, well, they suck. They got a bad call that went for them. No, that team's also pumped at the same time. So it's just, perpetuating the cycle. It keeps the engagement going, and it puts variance into the game, which I think that they like.
And the owners, because it is up to them and they can make the commissioner do whatever they want, they just see it as a water finds its level issue. I'll get burned one week. Like, it's like coin flips. Like, in the end, like, I'm sure I'm breaking even on this thing anyway, that like I'm not losing. Now, in the moment when you have that incident, like it was the Saints and the Rams in a title game or something, it lives. But like you said, there's one happy side, there's one angry fan base, and they're still back in the fall, and the owner, like those ones hurt the most for the owners, but the week to week getting screwed over, like in the end, I'm sure these owners are shown a data that shows, oh, you're like actually getting the better of it 51% of the time. So stop complaining.
Yeah.
Like,
And then it made me wonder whether other companies are also doing this on purpose to drive engagement, and whether this is actually a strategy. For example, the most efficient company in the world is McDonald's in a lot of ways. It doesn't matter where in the world you go, food tastes exactly the same. And yet their ice cream machines are broken everywhere. It seems like, is it actually on purpose? Are they actually trying to drive engagement? I mean, think about what Elon Musk has done to X since he's taken over. How many of those decisions are just clearly, almost intentionally bad decisions? How often do famous grocery store chains and owners say things that will just infuriate the public, all because they choose to drive this sort of attention towards their product, the same way that the NFL is, quote unquote, driving the attention through intentionally allowing there to be bad officiating.
so are you saying
is this a marketing
controversy was on purpose? Like, I don't know.
I wonder if in some ways there is no publicity is bad publicity, at least within this realm. And I wonder,
publicity
like,
and scandal are two different things, because we'd argue like the NBA scandal was probably worse than
the
like,
Donaghy scandal was terrible.
yeah, that's what I mean. Then like refs just being bad.
But like, I'm wondering, so that's not the type of engagement you want. But like, the fact that your ice cream machines are broken everywhere around the world all the time when you're the most efficient economy of scale restaurant in the world, that can't be an accident. There's got to be a reason, man, that happens. Why is it every mall I go to, the escalators are always broken? There has to be a reason that every escalator is broken at every mall all the time. It almost has to be just for the attention.
Do you think that's
I don't know.
Do you think that's a subversive move from governments of the world because everyone's so goddamn fat now? They're like, just walk up the fucking escalator.
I don't think it's for attention. They could just be too cheap to fix it, so they say it's broken.
I just wonder, is there a strategy here for a company in general to lean into intentional incompetence? Does it because it will drive attention and eyeballs and controversy and discussion to your product?
And maybe we notice it more because social media is more prevalent now than it's ever been. We can see live whatever we want to see. So all of this stuff is just noticeable now where maybe it wasn't before. But at the same time, what's the thing that, like, if you think about marketing strategies from giant companies 10 years ago to what they would be now, you could take off 95% of what you used to pay for TV spots or magazine advertisements by having a broken machine at a location and getting it to go viral. You will actually reach more people that way. And whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter because people are now just talking to you and you've saved all the money in the world.
Yeah, listen, people, when things go bad, people pay attention. Like I saw, we joked about it on the golf show a couple of weeks ago, but I saw like that Jersey Jerry thing was, if they added up the engagement, it was worth nearly $4 million, Pat.
I don't think they paid him $4 million. That'd be my
no one got paid, but just the viral.
I know, I understand. But
so yeah,
so there's something.
Right. Like,
there's something here. I mean, Pat was perhaps
a broken vending machine in like a trendy spot. Like, you're not wrong. Like, yeah, I guess. Like, you got a point in some way.
Or it could just be that people are incompetent. There's that side of it too, which is probably the more likely answer. Paul, yes.
Well, that's part of it, but companies shouldn't be.
But people are running these companies.
There's a documentary on Netflix about the McDonald's milkshakes. Because, like, if you think about it, like, Wendy's, they have milkshakes. They don't shut down all the time. It has to do with there's a specific company that runs and operates and is in charge of repairing McDonald's milkshakes machines, and like that company is like straight up like incompetent, and they're signed to like some egregious like long-term contract. It's a
they have an amazing deal, and they've like purposely flawed the machines, and they have some incredible service contract that every time they have to go in and service, they're just greasing some wheel. I don't know, but what the people want to know, Tim, is what on earth? Like you were craving an ice cream this week, and clearly you got stiffed because you're holding on to it.
No, I'm really not. It actually arose from a text that Pat sent the other day. I did want an ice cream the other day, incidentally, but I just didn't go get it. I just said no. I passed on it.
Look at you. New year,
I
new
know.
Tim.
I know. I drove home from watching football Saturday night, starved, and refused to stop at McDonald's to get a hot burger because those are the better ones. Instead, I just went home and had a big glass of water and went to bed. Yesterday, when I wanted something sweet, I made a healthy smoothie from scratch in my new blender rather than go buy something. Yeah, I'm showing genuine self-control here.
No, by the way, speaking of this blender, like, you
What?
find these things and you think you invented the world. Like,
But I have invented something new for myself. Obviously, other people have been using blenders, but I'm
Yeah,
over
but you
here like
talk
making
about
fun
them-
stuff.
I don't know how to put it,
I
but
made my own spaghetti sauce the other day with it.
how'd that go?
I didn't like it as much as I like Classico. I'll be honest with you.
But you think the Italian Nana, you think Pizzola's Nona is making with a blender, or she's like mushing it?
I don't know. I really don't know the answer. I mean, I roasted the tomatoes and the peppers before I blended them, and then before I simmered them. Like, I think I followed it the correct order. But I don't know. I am not a master chef here. I'm learning and inventing as I go along, and I'm really proud of that. And that's another reason why, here I am genuinely trying to learn and get better, and Geoff just wants to demean me. So vote for Geoff.
No, I actually I'm all here for your cooking and your
Sounds like it.
yourself.
Sounds like it.
No, and you starving yourself with a glass of water before bed is interesting. Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Did you see something that you
I
made?
found that I've been enjoying fasting, I must say. It sounds
Really?
weird. I've actually been enjoying how I feel when I'm fasting.
Well, that is something that people say that happens.
Like, it's a weird feeling of, like, I don't know, because I'm swimming again a lot, like 4 times a week, 5 times a week. And I really enjoy the feeling of being fully fasted before I swim, which makes sense to me because I always play golf better when I'm hungry. And if I eat before I play golf, I always play poorly. I need to be on a completely empty stomach before I play golf.
Like a completely empty stomach?
Like, water is fine, or a couple of DCs are fine, but I can't eat before I play golf. I need to feel hungry.
Interesting.
I can't concentrate if I'm feeling full.
Yeah, but 18 holes, like, you start golf hungry? Like, how the fuck's that gonna work?
You know
Eh,
what?
you have a couple of cigs, you're fine.
Tim does fade on the back nine.
I do. I do fade, like 15,
he-
16, 17.
Yeah,
It's true.
because he has probably because you have no energy left. Like, you can't just do everything on an empty stomach. This happened to me when I was like into the diet, like 4 days in. I had burned, according to my Apple Watch. Thank you, my wife, for getting me that for Christmas. But like, I had burned 1,400 calories through exercise that day, like active calories, and I had consumed like 1,000 calories. I thought I was gonna fucking pass out. So I was like, I need to.
Yeah, but I've got a lot of stored calories, though, so I shouldn't have that energy deficit in the same way. I've got the energy here.
That's not how it works.
Well, no, it's true. No, you told me that is just extra energy that my body has stored. That's what fat is. It's just unburned energy. Did you not say that?
I didn't know. I don't know who actually told you that.
You said that's what body fat is unburned energy.
Yes, but you're not using that as active energy. That's stuff that basically puts you into survival mode. You want to have a deficit so you can burn some of that fat, but if you're only relying on the fat as your primary source of energy, that's not good energy.
Well, not primarily. I am.
If you have an empty stomach, you have no other energy to burn besides that energy. And you're not going to be as efficient in anything that you do. You won't have any energy. It'll make you tired.
Also, my incoherent rambling towards Tim. Let's just say a 35-year-old who thought blender technology was too advanced and scared to use it and is now proud that he's very skilled is kind of terrifying.
If you like blenders, vote Geoff.
I like blenders.
When was the last time you used the blender, Geoff?
I don't need to. My wife does.
I like blenders. When do you use it? Never.
No,
Yeah,
it's
you really love
what do
it.
you mean? I like.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever used our blender, but my wife does make me smoothies all the time. She uses.
Yeah,
I
so
made a
you
smooth.
like
I
it.
made a
don't
real. I made a
understand
really
what
good
that
smoothie
means.
the other day.
Oh yeah.
I was very proud of myself. It was mint. It was mango. It was oat milk, a little bit of plain yogurt, and chia seeds.
There is a curse that not many people are talking about because maybe they haven't noticed, Geoff. But you remember why Tim bought that cake to put in his fridge?
Oh, I don't want
On
to talk
sale?
about that. No, it was 50% off.
Yeah, it was on sale.
Yeah, it was 50%
It was 50, but it was
off.
50% off. You've been following the news, haven't you, Geoff? About the new changes?
I see. I only know this because of you, because I wouldn't have noticed either. But you tell
This
you
has been
tell
all
the
over.
people.
This has been all over my news feed.
Of
But
course,
again,
of
I-
course, your news is geared to you.
One of the major grocery store chains in our country has decided it's no longer going to have 50% off stickers, but instead has switched everything to 30% off stickers when things are about to expire or go bad. So people are saying that my love for 50% off items and cakes resulted in a change in national policy such that now things will only be 30% off. And can I say that while that annoys me that it's now 30 instead of 50, it will affect my buying habits in no way. So I guess they win.
Oh, Tim.
Paul?
Other people started storing 50% off merchandise.
I
in their
don't know.
freezers?
Do you
I
think?
don't know.
I bet you. If anyone out there has a stack of 50% off coupons, it's Cam Stewart.
I feel like they're just gonna throw
Oh
more,
shit!
throw more
Yeah, you
stuff
gotta
out this
warn
way.
Cam.
Paul's trying
You
to say
gotta warn
something,
Cam.
but you just
If he
keep talking
starts
over him.
I just think they're gonna just throw out more stuff this way. It's like,
They are.
am I gonna take a run? Am I gonna take a chance? Anything with 50% sticker on it, you're taking a chance. Like you got to eat it pretty much immediately, and it may already have gone bad. So it's like you're taking a bit of a gamble for 30%. Am I even taking it taking it off the shelf? I don't know.
50% is 50%. It's usually worth rolling the dice on, but yeah, 30%. It really does change the CBI.
They must be selling so much at 50% that they feel they can get away with it. Because to me, it's like once there's a 50% sticker, like they take 80%. Like just get it off their shelf, get it out of their store. They don't have to throw it out. That's your problem.
My theory-
I'm kind of surprised by this.
My theory is that some people have been pickpocketing from them left, right, and center, stealing I don't know how many bags.
Cam's the one that's got the stash of 50% stickers that he probably just drops on regular priced items.
I don't believe he does. I don't believe he does.
He
that.
talked.
I don't believe he does
talked about walking around the meat department and switching the stickers, like the price tags on things.
That was a long time ago.
Hold on. You think that was a long time ago? That's how you interpreted that story?
I don't think that happened recently.
So
Usually if
how is
people
it?
saw,
How
like,
is it that you give Cam the benefit of the doubt on anything?
Well, first because you continually stock his freezer full of meat at Christmas time,
Well, I do
so
now.
he has no need to do this.
Do you know
But
how much
secondly,
meat
I
he
give
goes through?
I give Cam the complete benefit of the doubt on this. I don't think that happened anytime recently.
What would be recently? Like
You
within
have
3
no
weeks or a
idea.
year?
Several years.
No.
What do you think would happen if the dude who was putting the stickers on, let's just say, had like an emergency where someone called him to the back and he left that roll of stickers there? Do you think Cam would take it or leave it?
I think he would pick it up and he would take it to the front desk and drop it off. If
Oh
someone
my
left their
God.
stickers behind. That's what I would do.
No, you wouldn't. You would just leave it
I
there.
didn't ask what
You are no, because that's even Tim grandstanding for himself here. You wouldn't do that. You're too fucking lazy to pick it up and walk it to the front of the store. You would leave it there.
No, I put it in my cart, and then as I got to the
No,
front
you
of the
wouldn't.
store, as
You
I'm
would
cashing
leave.
out,
You
I'd
would
give it back to
leave
them.
it there.
No, I wouldn't, because that's like, no, I wouldn't do that.
So you're
You
taking
just leave it there because someone else might take it.
perfect. What do you care?
No, that's
Good for you.
So you're
fighting for
so
corporate-
Tim's
for the
campaign. Tim's
corporation.
campaign not looking out for you, the people.
Yeah,
Well,
Tim's here for the
no. I am looking out.
corporations.
I am looking out for you because theft is one of the drivers of additional costs that's moved on to the consumers.
Yeah, they would
If
never.
we eliminated
they would
theft,
never.
we
They would
would
never.
actually
Pray,
have reduced
they
prices.
would never. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's a very corporate line to be spouting. They will gouge you any chance that they can. Any business will. That's why they're in business.
I'm not sure any business will, but
Any
and I don't know
large
if they would
corporation
gouge you
will.
either.
They will. They will try to.
Look,
they will gouge you, as much as possible.
You know how I love big corporations. You know how I love them. I believe that they're the oil that lubricates the engine of an economy. But, I don't think that Cam would take that 50% sticker book and just start slapping it on items that he wanted.
No, he would take it home and he'd have it methodical.
Yeah,
He'd methodically use it till every last sticker was
I don't
gone.
believe
Cam's not an idiot.
I
Yeah.
could never
Just-
do that.
Cam knows how to do it without getting caught. That's the difference between
yet
you and
he
him.
can't use his laptop to bet because the system's broken.
Yeah, but
Yes.
he's clever. I can't believe you think Cam would stare at that roll of stickers.
I don't think he would take it and then use it for his own personal
Tim,
ill-gotten
you don't
gain.
understand.
I don't believe that would happen.
If Cam was looking at a piece of meat that was 50% off that he didn't want, and he saw the corner of the sticker was like loose, that he could get it, he would take it off and put it on the meat he wants.
I don't believe that. I refuse to believe
He has
would do
come
that to things.
onto the show and said these exact things. What don't you believe about it?
That this is all exaggerated, and I don't think he would do that. And if it happened, it was a long time ago, and he certainly doesn't do it anymore. He wouldn't do that these days. He just wouldn't. You ask him on the Best Bet
Yeah,
show.
Sports Grid's treating him so well that he's not doing it these days.
You
I'm
really,
not gonna
you
weigh
really
in.
live on a different planet, don't you?
Well,
Of
I
what
assume
where you believe that everyone in the world has the good intentions that you have. They don't.
I like to presume that most people, the vast majority of people actually, are honest intentioned and good spirited people. I don't doubt that there aren't 5 to 6% of people who would engage in something underhanded, but I think most people are above board and honest and decent people.
Tim, I just want you to know, if we were friends like in college, almost as a bit, because I would have known that you'd say no, every single time I had a paper to write, I would get into a negotiation with you, and the number would be like absurdly high by the time I gave up, that you wouldn't accept my offer to write my paper.
I think things should be done appropriatly and above board. I don't
No,
see
and
the
I
need to-
love you, and I love your
I
friendship.
don't like breaking.
and-
I don't like breaking rules. It makes me feel really bad when rules get broken. I don't even like parking in a no parking spot if I'm jumping in my car for 3 minutes to get something and jumping back in.
See, that's the difference between you and I, sir. Like when I had to go to Barrington Steakhouse to go pick up some steaks the other night, and there's no parking around there. So what did I do? I just parked on the sidewalk out front and went in.
See, now I
No,
could just
hold
never.
on.
I couldn't.
And,
I couldn't do that.
and if they wanted to tow me, and I saw them out there, it would be like a deal. I was like, yeah, no
but
fucking
you have the
parking. This is
entitlement
on
to
you.
do that
I do.
because of this Uber culture that like these.
No, I did before. It doesn't matter what would be going on. This is what I'd be. I don't want to be inconvenienced, Jeff. If I saw the 50% stickers there, I would take them. I probably wouldn't use them. I'd probably give them to someone who maybe needed them more. But I'd give them.
Yeah,
I'd give them to my dad. My dad would use them 100%.
No, but no, that I've complained about. I get it. You're running in, but this Uber economy has created these people that think they can just park anywhere because they're running in somewhere. It's
Yeah, you might as well
we
take
used
advantage.
to be a civilized people.
Well, but I'm on team civilization, but I also believe that civilization doesn't let you pick and choose what's most convenient for you. I think sometimes you just have to put your head down and say, this is inconvenient for me, but it would be better if everybody acted the way I acted, so I'm going to act this way.
Like I said,
It's the
you
categorical
live
imperative.
you live on a different planet.
Well, you're right. I try to embody the type of good-spiritedness I'd like to hope other people would embody. And I'm
Yeah.
not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm very imperfect.
Big
but I try my
corporations keep
best.
digging into our pockets and jacking up the prices for no reason. I support your ability to do that. Me, I need to go in
but I
and
don't
get
think
a
the
break
solution
somewhere.
to them. I don't think the solution to those big corporations doing that is to steal from them.
Oh,
I don't believe two
people
wrongs
were
make a right.
People were stealing from them anyway.
This
isn't changing
and that the
anything.
prices have gone up. This is part of the reason the prices have gone up.
It's also a big reason the prices went up because they can charge more now, and they know that they can.
charge more now.
So
and
they
But
do.
They're not
charge.
even paying cashiers anymore, so they're saving everywhere.
I know. I'm not here to defend them.
Record
I'm just-
profits. Oh, we can't afford
I
50%
agree,
anymore.
but I don't think
And then if you want to
I'm not
run on
defending
the
them, but
honor
the solution.
system,
But the solution is not
if
to
you
then
want to
encourage
use
theft.
the honor system, some bags are going to go missing. That's it.
What else goes missing, Jeff? I mean, it's not just some bags. What else goes missing sometimes?
I don't know what that means.
Does anything else ever go missing?
I don't even know what.
Why do you draw the line at bags? Is there nothing else that you know?
No, you know why? You know
Because
why?
it's inconvenient, and it's inconvenient not to have a bag.
And it's something that I spent my whole life getting for free, even if I spent 5 cents. So if I'm going in there and spending any normal amount of money, I believe the corporation should let me bag the goods for which I am leaving. And if they choose not to, and I forget my bag at home, that they expect me to just like leave in my car at all times, then listen. We grab one when we walk in, we rip the tag off, we go shopping. When we get to the end, it's like, oh, I had like the lady's like, oh, good for you. You brought your bag. I'm like, yes, I did, ma'am.
Would you do this with other people with you? Like if you were shopping as a family, would you engage in this behavior with your?
Yeah, my kids wouldn't. My kids aren't even like aware. Like they're not at the point.
In 3 or 4 or 5 years' time, would you do this with your family around you? Or would you?
Yeah,
only
my
do this by
kid wouldn't
yourself?
check the receipt to see if I scanned the bag.
Would you
So
just
yes,
take the bag
yes is
and
the
rip
answer.
The tag
Yes,
off
yes
while
is the
shopping?
answer.
So yeah, I guess the
Of course.
answer is yes. If I'm buying groceries for my family and I showed up without a bag, I'll be like, yeah, guess what, girls? Bag day.
I just don't think that vigilante theft is the right response to genuine annoyances at companies.
You're just too afraid to do any of this stuff.
Well,
You don't.
and then I have another
You would
question.
do
What
it.
are
You just
people
don't want to
doing?
get caught.
Of course not.
No.
And you know what happens if
People-
Geoff gets caught? He's like, oh, sorry, thought I paid for it. See ya.
Oh yeah, so exactly. I don't even think it's over the threshold of them caring. But
Doesn't make it
a
right.
sub issue of this problem is what are people using for like bags in their waste baskets around their house when we no longer have the plastic bag
Garbage bags.
inventory of just living our lives?
I
I
have
use
garbage
paper
bags.
bags.
I
quite a
have
bit.
garbage bags.
Yeah, so do I. But like garbage bags are so big for just like a little waste basket.
You can
in
buy.
the washroom.
You can buy basically the things that like you can buy littler bags, or you can buy those like dog shit bags and put those in it.
They used to
a
be
lot of
really
dog
handy
shit
in the,
bags.
they
I
used to be
might-
handy
I
in the car. Like
Ah.
put your trash in the car.
All right. Well, we started to talk about this game like an hour ago. Bucks and Detroit. Detroit's favored by 6. You think that the Lions? You're so off the Lions now, Tim, that they're going to lose to the Bucks at home?
So let me explain. And I'm not so sure they should have beaten the Rams. I'm kind of convinced that if that game had been called semi better by slightly more competent officials, the Rams would have won the game. Not to take anything away from Detroit. I thought Detroit, did a fine job. It was what a great story that they won. Not sure that once the refs blew that early call in the Rams' favor, and like the crowd got on them, it seemed to have affected the way that the referees. It was a classic example of like home bias against referees that led to calls that probably should or shouldn't have been made. And so that's my opinion on that game. I think the Rams were probably better. The Rams probably should have won. What I saw last night from Tampa Bay was the perfect strategy to beat Detroit, namely to blitz and blitz hot on Goff. Force him into quick, instantaneous decisions. If they want to hand it off, those blitzes are just as effective as a run blitz. And more importantly, you get Goff panicky. He will make mistakes. The one time the Rams really got into his kitchen on Sunday night, he threw the ball backwards. And it was nearly a turnover. I think if Tampa can heat up Goff, and then on the opposite side of things, if Baker can just connect with those two star receivers and get Otton moving, and he doesn't drop the ball, I think Tampa is in a good position to win this game. I think that they've got the pieces and the type of game plan that should be disruptive of Detroit. And so based on what I saw this weekend, I am going to pick Tampa to cover, and I think Tampa's going to win. I do.
Wouldn't be the craziest thing because I don't believe in the Lions' defense whatsoever. But I do think, and maybe I just have misjudged the situation, that the Rams giving the Lions a game is different than the Bucks giving them a game. Because I think if you put even the Rams at the Bucks in the playoffs in this round, that the Rams would be favored in that game.
I'm sorry. And if you're a Tampa fan, I'm your favorite fucking person on the internet. Okay? I didn't believe you that you'd go on and get Brady and win that Super Bowl. I did not believe. I didn't believe anything that would happen this year would go on to happen. In fact, this is the most, like, to think that they're a win from the NFC title game is exactly why Bill Belichick maybe should forego home in the NFC East if those become available and take this path. Take this path. Seriously, for fuck's sakes. They're one game away from the NFC title. I give them all the credit in the world, despite how much it bothers me. Even yesterday, because I don't know what to make of that. They've played 2 straight dead fish. What do you make of this team? Carolina, they win with the 0. And then last week, they play a team that doesn't know how to adjust, that doesn't know how to do anything, that is injured, that isn't utilizing speed or anything, blitz breakers on offense. I got too much confidence in what they're saying about this Detroit offensive coordinator to not have blitz breakers with that speed. Now, you hope Gibbs is healthy. And credit to Todd Bowles. Do you know in neutral downs, they passed 75% of the time yesterday? Todd freaking Bowles, right? I bet you were watching that game. Like, they should just start running out the game. No, Baker's still chucking. Baker was still chucking, and he looked great. But I don't even know how to quantify anything. It's probably unfair. I'm being unfair to them again. But I don't know how to quantify anything from the last 2 weeks. They play teams that not only like quit, they don't even throw punches. And now they're going into the Lions' den. I am picking Detroit, and Tampa fans should love me. They should love me. They should love every time I pick against them.
The coin is siding with Tim in Tampa Bay. I'm actually going to take Tampa Bay as well to pull a Fienberg here. Cover the spread, lose the game. Detroit's been really good in these close games. Feels like Mo's on their side. And as it pertains to Tampa, they're kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde type team. I do worry that their defense kind of reeks, that Philly just wasn't able to do anything offensively against them. I don't think that speaks to the quality of their defense or potentially even the blitzes that were coming. It was just Philly had nothing on offense. Detroit has it on offense. That's not going to be a problem. Whether they can stop the Bucs or not, I don't know. I think it'll go back and forth for a bit, and Detroit will end up coming out on top. But I like Tampa to cover the 6. But I can be swayed on that as the week goes along, I think.
Can I say something? I say that thing every year. I absolutely despise the time of these 2 games on Sunday. There is no reason in the divisional round we need to be playing games at 3 p.m. Eastern and 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
Next week is worse.
They do it. It's the exact same times for the championship games next week, and they do it that way. And it was explained to me, and I understand because they alternate NFC, AFC. If you have a game in Seattle or if you have a game in Los Angeles, you obviously can't have that game kick off at 1 o'clock Eastern, which is 10 a.m. Pacific. So that's why in championship weekend you have to have a 3 p.m. Eastern.
That does make sense.
That makes sense. This
I will also say
this weekend you don't need that.
No, but
you can play at 1 and 4 this weekend.
Just let him finish.
In my opinion,
let him finish talking, Jeff.
That was my point. This weekend, there's
I
zero reason.
I thought I hit that perfectly.
There's zero reason to get rid of the traditional times we're used to all season long this weekend. You should give us the 1 p.m. and the 4:30 kickoff. It's ludicrous that they do it a week early now. They didn't used to until about 3 or 4 years ago. They got into this habit in divisional round, and it's dumb.
Do you know why they love it so much?
No.
This is the dream. It allows 2 games to hit the dream window of like, just people are home. It's Sunday. It's the end of the day. Kids got school tomorrow. Parents got work. It's like 2 games are in the dinner time window that it's truly like the biggest audience window. Like when, like how they set up for a big golf tournament to end, like in the window, in the money spot. This allows 2 games to hit the money spot. Not that you need to sell it. Not that the commercial inventory for an NFL playoff game would be worth less, but they're maximizing it. And they've got the data points to show them this is the money spot for 2 game days. Saturdays are different. People are busier on Saturdays. They're more out and about. That time, dinner time on Saturday. Got plans.
Okay. Final game. Buffalo and Kansas City. I'm very excited for this game. Probably the most excited I've been for any game all season long. I'm going to take the Bills -2.5. Only because I want good things in my life for people that I like. I would like to see Paul happy. My dad is a Bills fan. I would like to see him happy. And it would just be nice for Josh Allen to get over them. The Bills as a franchise. Like, somehow having Detroit versus Buffalo in the Super Bowl, I just think it would be a feel-good story for the franchises that have just been kicked for 5 decades, and they're there all of a sudden. It'd be a nice, fun story for the NFL, so I'm here for it. And I've been making
Tim cries.
To hell with them. Crabs in the bucket. To hell with them. I want them
I'll go
back in.
first. I'll be quick.
I'm not done!
I thought you... Sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't know. Punish myself. I agree with everything Pat said. I've got too many people. I want this too badly for them. I could break the game down, but it's just a big TV game. I'm with the Mafia. I'm with Paul. I'm with the spirit of blessing. I am just with my friends who love this team and will die for it. And hopefully they get a chance one more time, at least next week.
Go ahead, Tim.
No. I think you had something else to say. I have nothing to contribute to that conversation.
Yes, what I wanted to say was, and I've been saying this basically since week 7 or 8 now, that this Buffalo team reminds me of the Packers team that won the Super Bowl. That they just kind of snuck in. They played terrible. They were a 500 team most of the year. They got kind of hot towards the end. And not hot like blowing people out, just winning games all of a sudden. Everything started to break their way. They were injured all year long. And then some guys started coming back, and other teams started getting injured. And Rodgers started playing out of his mind. The defense stepped up a little bit, and it was good enough to go to the Super Bowl. It was good enough to win. This Bills team reminds me of that. So that's where I'm at with the Bills right now. I think that they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Wow. Love it. That would be...
Everyone blew them for the past 4 years.
Can't have it.
Everyone was all in on the Bills for the last 4 years. Everyone was out on the Bills as of 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they needed. They're not the darlings. They're not, no one, like, although they are favored in this game, and people will pick them, Geoff and I both pick them, in everyone's heart, in my heart, I feel like Mahomes is just going to win the game, because that's what everyone feels like, because that's what Mahomes does, and this is what the Bills do. They'll be up in this game. They'll find some way to fuck it up. That's what is probably going to happen. I just don't want to see it happen. I'd like to see Buffalo have their shot, and Kansas City can sit out during a down year and make it between Baltimore and Buffalo. I think that would be fun.
I feel everything you feel, and I also feel like, oh my God, I'm going to be staring at my friends as Mahomes like rips their jugular out, but not even on the road, like at home this time. And Mahomes has this chance, like having never played a road playoff game. Yeah, I'd be scared shitless too. With the injuries, the extra rest, there are a lot of things, but I can't. Yeah, this is like nothing to do with the actual football, though I think it sets up well for the Bills. I'm fully in, Pat. If they go to the Super Bowl, that would be bananas. And you're right, that would be so funny. For it finally to break their way once everyone kind of abandoned them. Although lots of people got some fun Super Bowl tickets, so...
Yeah, I mean, you just look at it, like, what doesn't Kansas City do well? They don't stop the run very well. What have the Bills been doing over the past 8 weeks? They're just trying to run as much as possible. Probably to try to limit the amount of you have to bank on a few turnovers here from Josh Allen. And can Mahomes capitalize on that? Well, the Bills get Casual Rajual back, most likely this week. And since he's been traded for from the Packers, their defense is weirdly out of nowhere gotten a lot better. Like, one guy is kind of piecing all of that together. He missed the Steelers game, presumably to make sure that he is, for whoever they were going to play in the second round, be ready for that game. Tim Mahomes is terrifying, and he wins all these games. That's the shitty part about it, if you're a Bills fan.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills should feel privileged. Taylor Swift's going to show up in their city. She'd have no reason to ever show up in Buffalo. She's actually going to show up in your city. You should feel blessed just for that. And what is she going to witness? She's going to witness Patrick Mahomes getting points in the playoffs. History teaches us anything. You lose. Sorry. You're going to lose. It is all coming to an end. The Bills are the team with the worst quarterback, the worst tight end, the worst coach, all the positions that matter most. Just about.
Hold on, is
Kansas City
tight
is
end
superior.
is tight end the second most important position in football? Is that what you're saying?
No, but for Buffalo, it has recently been absolutely critical. That whole offense has been running through what their tight ends have been able to do.
And now they got two healthy ones because they haven't been
They
healthy.
do.
And when they were healthy, the
they
other
do.
one was a rookie getting his feet wet.
They do. But if they play the way they played the last 3 weeks, they'll be lucky to be within 20 points of Kansas City. They have played so badly the last few weeks. So badly. Good luck to them. They're going to need it. They're going to have to play perfect to beat Kansas City. They can have no turnovers. They're going to have to play a perfect game to win this. And I don't think that Josh Allen is talented enough to do that. Not only this Bills team is well coached enough to do that. And I expect Kansas City to win. And I think Kansas City is going to play Baltimore in the true AFC Championship game that we're supposed to have between the two actual best teams in the conference.
Let's make if Buffalo goes to the Super Bowl, you need to send out vote for Tim memes. Like, let's make a bet on something here.
No, I've already got you on the ropes. Why would I do anything to let you back into the
You
campaign?
don't have me
But
on the ropes. But
Yeah,
Really? I mean,
you have them on the ropes.
they-
It's even money, basically. It's minus
Well,
110
I'm
plus
I'm
110.
favored.
that's crazy. That is, imagine like betting on me would have been like betting against The Undertaker 15 years ago.
He ended up
Like you're
losing.
going to bet, like betting me to win. Like the streak's still got years left. Tim has so much effort. Tim is putting so little effort into winning this election. Like, make him earn it, people. Make him earn it. You're going to make a wish, this kid? Come on.
How dare Tim beg for votes? Now watch me beg for votes.
I don't
That's
bet.
a hell
I
of a
want everyone
campaign
to
strategy.
Vote. Go vote. I encourage everyone voting, giving Pat their email. That, like, I'm for it. Vote. Be part of our show. Any vote I support. Even if it is against me, I support you participating. I'm not against the votes. I'm just making the case and allowing people to realize that you can't spend, like, people keep messaging us like how torn they are. How do I vote for this category? And then be in a position where you're on our most insane category and be like, oh, I think this is a debate. What should I do?
I mean, it sounds like based on the odds, they're turning in a ballot with your name on it.
It sounds like there's value. It sounds like there is serious value to come home. Again, I was dumb enough. Morency hated me. He hated me. Listen, these are WWE limits, so it's not like you could bet a lot. But I had a tip that I thought was good. That Edge was going to beat The Undertaker and end the streak. Did not work out.
You could have. We watched the Lesnar Undertaker match in the fantasy office, I believe, because we were going over the odds of everything. I think he was 20-1 to beat the Undertaker.
That's what Tim should be. Or that's what I should be to win.
We're halfway
Gary
through.
Gilbert
the match.
over here.
I'm curious what Paul thinks about this game because I can't imagine he's feeling confident.
He
He's
thinks
gotta
you
be-
should pay him.
He's got to be. Yeah, fair enough. He's got to be terrified right now.
I wasn't gonna bring it up for a month, but yeah, like it was funny when just listening to Tim talk about like big corporations and you shouldn't steal from them. I'm still getting stiffed by Big Tim right now.
You're right.
And
I
then
do need to pay you.
after
agree.
the regular season, but we'll give
I
him a
agree.
couple more weeks before we really start shaming him. I mean, the group chat, the boys, we're feeling pretty darn good. It's the Chiefs. We're used to losing against them, but this time we got them at home. Have we been perfect? No. Last game, Josh made no mistakes. The turnover was the special teams. So, I don't know. Play that game again. Don't make that special teams error. Good luck, Kansas City. Like, we are playing good football right now. There's tons of injuries. I'm a little bit concerned about that. AJ Klein stepping in for Bernard is, at least he's like a veteran. He knows the scheme. He knows the system. He has been a starter in previous years. I mean, everything's There was 2 weeks ago, we were all kind of outside of that Miami game. Everyone was talking about how the Chiefs don't have it anymore. They have one game against a beaten up Miami team, and now guys like you are saying that like, oh, the Chiefs are back. They're amazing. It's just like it seemed like Miami was more dead than anything. They kind of fell into that Philadelphia bin. Go Bills!
Yeah, very little fight.
Bills by a touchdown.
I'm looking to see this game a lot like last year's game when Cincinnati came to Buffalo and the Bills didn't show up.
Oh,
Let it be the same. Same as last year's divisional round.
No, if this one will just be Mahomes, like that would be sad. I don't see that happening. I do like just the Mahomes aspect, getting ready to rip Bills. Like, I don't know how to put this, what the words are, but like there have to have been so many examples of this through the Patriots dynasty where it felt like there was this team that was just finally ready to answer their bell. I thought a couple times it was the Chargers.
It was the Colts a few times too.
And in the end, they just Brady, even on the road, they just win the stupid game. My heart, my money is with Buffalo. My mind is less with Buffalo, but I want it so badly for Paul and everyone. I'm not against Kansas City here, though, in the way, like, look at how Tim is against Buffalo. A team, a fan base. They haven't won anything.
Too bad.
Their fans are so tortured.
Too bad.
And he's so immature about it. And just, how, even surprised myself how
it was supposed to be my year. They don't get to win in my year. No one in the
you don't
AFC
see me
East
like
gets to
I
win.
should hate the Chiefs. I should be doing the opposite of you, but the other way. Like, screw this team, this division rival, and that's a team that's already won Super Bowls. That, like, God forbid they have triplets, and you can't even let
No, not one, not an inch. We're not giving an inch. I don't want them happy. I don't. That's fine. I don't think this is main character. It will delight me to no end when Buffalo loses on Sunday.
Don't get me wrong. I get.
Can't wait.
Eagles fans were thrilled watching the Cowboy game. Cowboys fans probably felt the first happiness of the week watching the Eagle game, but I don't know. The Bills, it just feels different. Like, let something good happen there.
No, it's my year. 2024 is my year. Part of that is that they don't get to the championship game. I mean, in all honesty, though, if they were to win this game, let's say they do, they have no chance against Baltimore. Like, literally, like, what's that spread? Baltimore by 6? Baltimore by next week. Ravens hosting the Bills.
Baltimore
Ravens
by 3.
It'll be longer. It'll be a
3.5,
longer odd than
maybe?
that.
3.5. Maybe it could be 2.5, depending on how these
think
teams
that's
look.
very unlikely. I think it's going to be.
Well, you think it's very
Bills
unlikely
beat
because you don't think the Bills are going to win.
Bills own
No,
Lamar.
but if the Bills were to win, it's going to be longer than 3 points. That's for sure.
I mean, the Bills present the best. I mean, I think that those three teams, like Baltimore's not. I mean, it's good that they're getting Houston this time around, which could be a challenge. Who knows? But both Kansas City and Buffalo are both capable of going into Baltimore and winning that game.
The Chiefs
I'm going
are.
to turn
I'm not
into
sure
Tim.
Buffalo is.
I'd like to turn into Tim for just one moment. I will be literally crushed. I will not actually be mature or happy for a moment if somehow in the next month this downtrodden Chiefs team beats Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and that 49er team. I will probably become what Tim has become. That could be a tipping point for me.
That would be fun. That would be fun, though, because then the Chiefs would be asserting themselves as the next dynasty.
Oh, yeah.
Like a real dynasty. That would be really cool.
Oh,
Like, you don't see dynastic stuff like that.
Who?
To me.
Well, yeah.
I'm fine with that. I actually don't mind if the Chiefs win. That means, I'm not picking it to happen. I'd be perfectly cool if the Chiefs
You have the
win.
Chiefs over the Ravens next week?
No, I will take Baltimore next week because I think the Ravens present just too difficult a challenge. But the Chiefs could totally get them. And if the Chiefs got them, I would take the Chiefs over the 49ers in a blink of an eye.
Rematch.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the picks. You guys still have super locks to go through. We're whittling it down. So who are you guys taking?
Oh, I'm taking the Chiefs again. You're giving me points with Mahomes in the playoffs? This may not come again around for another decade.
KC
Something.
plus 2.5. Jeffrey?
It doesn't feel perfect, but I can't. I have to step in front of Tampa, a team that hasn't played a football game in a month. Did they play New Orleans the week before Carolina?
They did, got
Yes, and
smoked.
lost
They
to
have
them
not played a
23-13.
game in a month. Congratulations, Tampa, Detroit.
All right, so Detroit -6 for Jeff. Kansas City plus 2.5 for Tim. Tim, do you have any free money this week? You were a loser last week.
Yeah, well, I actually do have one for the people. It's cooked up. It's just a 14 tease. And you tease the Ravens down.
How many points is this teaser?
Pardon me. It's a 7-point tease.
7 points.
You tease the Ravens down, Packers down, the Buccaneers up, and the Chiefs up.
The Bucks are the one that scare me the most on that. Just because if they lose, they could get throttled. We've seen them get
Detroit throttling.
We've seen
I
them
agree
get
with-
throttled a bunch of times this year. Is why I say that.
Yeah, it
Sure,
could be like
I don't. Sure, I don't think Detroit's got it in them to throttle anyone at this stage, though.
No, it might. They might. Because they could be like a 500. They could double them up in yards. And maybe it's one of those games where they double them up and it's close. I want to ask Paul one question, though, because I feel like his memory will be better than anyone's. Everyone on the internet appears to be victory lapping that they called this for Buffalo, that they knew Buffalo, that they predicted this. I know we all sort of saw the schedule a month ago and created it, but like Paul lived it. Like there's no way all these
Nobody.
people were about it. Were
Yeah,
they?
well, let's see the slips.
No, the
Where-
media
where are
was
the slips?
completely calling them dead. Like with
Yeah, I guess
with
maybe
this
there's
with
like
this
people on
remaining
the internet who bet them, but
with this remaining schedule, I mean, I knew that they basically had to win out to get into the playoffs, and I wasn't confident when they were 6-6.
You weren't confident when that Josh Allen coughed up that ball in the Saturday night game that Jeff wouldn't take his nephew to.
well, he's been calling for
you sent us
McDermott for
gifts.
2 years.
Yeah, you sent us gifts of basically you being conceding that game.
It hasn't been pretty, but kind of now you're almost kind of like, is this a team of destiny?
Well, I hope not.
It's
Can't
crazy
have-
that
I
Al
can't have
Qaeda
it.
story really swung the season.
The what?
They're like when McDermott invoked when the story about McDermott invoking 9/11 really like galvanized the locker room.
There you go. All right. I'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience, playing the golf listeners. Like I told you about all the giveaways that we're doing, the movie club with Southland Tales. Strap yourself in for 2 hours and 45 minutes of absolute nonsense. I loved every minute of it. That's me. Jeff, you got anything else going on this week? You doing golf with anyone else?
No, my video's out there with Andy. I'd just like to say I'm really sorry. I guess I was anxious this episode. I did maybe more interrupting than usual. I will say as a consolation, I truly believe in the history of the show might have talked less Chargers than in any episode ever. So props to me.
We thank you for your service on that. We also want to thank Tim Andercust.
Tim Andercust.
That is not my name.
You seem more beaten down than you were at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you think it's
the very
because
idea? It's because we talked about the Bills and their potential success, and like that doesn't make me happy at all. That makes me sad.
or
I
it's
know why
because
it
it's 2 hours in and you haven't eaten anything in 10 hours? You might be getting
I
tired.
haven't had a bite to eat in 11 a.m. was the last time I had something to eat.
Good news, you were showing off new coupons today.
Well, no, I was showing off that it even said in the promotion for yourself and another person can have their favorite item. That was like just a complete gut punch.
Well, now that you're Tim 2 Trim, then you don't need to have the dinner for two for all yourself. Bring someone else. Bring a friend.
No, well, I'm not gonna eat there at all. I'm going to be making myself a salad. I'm healthy.
There you go. What's going to be in your salad?
Boiled egg, spinach, cucumber, radish, lemon juice, a little tiny bit of shredded skim milk mozzarella cheese, and yeah, that's what I've got.
Any?
Do you have a salad spinner?
Do you have any protein?
No,
in
I
that?
don't have a salad spinner. There's two boiled eggs cut up. In
Oh,
there.
2 boiled eggs. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to have that.
I would be cautious about going from all the calories in the world to none of the calories in the world, because that's
Well, no, but you said it's about calories in and calories
I
out.
understand that, but you also have to sustain this now. Like, part of having like good on a crash diet, you can lose 20 pounds super quickly doing this, but that is not a sustainable way to live. The best part about doing it is find a way that you can do every single day without really thinking about it and make that your new lifestyle. That's how these things end up working. Because you've done this a bunch of times that you can do this, but then you inevitably just give up on it because it's impossible to keep up the standard over time. If there's a way that you could do some mix of this, but not have it be you're eating twice a day and eating 800 calories, like, that's just not sustainable.
I know, and people say that, but that's a lot easier said than done.
I agree. That's why people find a very hard time to do it. But it'd be almost worse for you in the long run to lose 25 pounds and just gain it all back.
Well, yes, but I'd like to first get that 25 or 30 off and then jump into what you're talking about.
Okay. I mean, that
Like, I
that
want to
makes sense to me.
kickstart this. I want to kickstart or hyperdrive this. And then after that, then get there. But let's get to that point
Have
first.
you cut out the DC?
No, I've been told that DCs are good for you
By who?
because it.
Who?
gives you
Oh,
some-
stop. By who?
Well, there's a friend of ours who is very involved in health and gym stuff.
He's very
Who has
involved
said-
in injecting things into himself.
not-
Is that good for you too?
It's a 0-calorie, sweet but no sugar thing that gets me over the need for something sugary and satisfies you far more than water will.
I think
I'm
it's
just under the impression most doctors, like, to a heavy person, would be like the first 20 is the easiest. Just lose all soda, and that will.
Well, but the only soda I drink is calorie-free soda.
Yeah, I think it's helpful in this circumstance. Trying to make the change to water would probably be better.
And I have sparkling waters in my fridge. Like, I have bubblies in my fridge too, and I like those. too.
How many ounces of water are you consuming a day? Because you should chuck that to over 100. That would be a big.
Yeah, I don't know. I have been drinking water. I thank God I have my dolly. I can bring those bottles up now with no trouble,
Right.
up to my room. But
maybe someday you can be
I've
strong
always
enough
been-
to
I've
lift
always
it
been-
yourself.
well, no, it's not about strength. I mean, I can just lift it, but it's
Can
just
you?
like it's a burden.
It sounds like you can't lift it. Well, the whole
Why
point would be
make
that
wa-
it's not a burden, that you just be able to do it.
Oh yeah, it's a heavy burn, and it's just easier to use the dolly.
I mean, if you want to start burning these calories, there's a way to do it. Lift up your jug and walk with it.
I was reading too something about how when you do your lifting, your muscle is actually tearing fibers,
Yes.
and that's actually like the way you recover can actually affect the way that your calories are consumed.
Well, I don't know about. I mean,
Something?
that could end up being the case. But that is how you grow muscle. You tear the microfibers, and when they rebuild back bigger. And being hydrated is a big part of that. And having extra protein to help them grow is a big part of that as well. Like, I would think that 100 ounces of water and at least 100 grams of protein every day is what you need. Along with this, like, to figure out a way to do that. You can bang that out, get some protein powder, and dump it into like one of those big Gatorade things that are like 32 ounces. Kind of solves, it's 2 birds with 1 stone when you do it that way. But you shouldn't be skimping on protein. You should be maxing out on protein.
Just try to eat a lot of greens.
Yeah, that's good.
I
Go
bought those
to
mini
a
tins and put them in my air
dietitian.
fryer.
Go to a dietitian and get them to explain this to you. Don't get me to explain it to you. Don't get anyone you know to explain it to you. Go to a dietitian. They can help you out. Because it seems like you've taken like half a sentence from 8 people you know and tried to cobble it into one.
Well, that is probably true.
So maybe go to a professional and they can help you. Because I want to see you get down here. And what you're doing now is going to work to a point. And then you have to do something lifestyle-wise to change.
Yes, I agree with that.
So going to a professional can really help that. Easy game. All right. Thank you all for tuning in, playing that Listeners League, like I mentioned. Sub to Mayo Media Network and get those Tambo draws. You could win $5,000. You could win nothing because there might be no money to give away. But if he does come inside the top 3, you don't want to take that chance of missing out on $5,000. So subscribe to the newsletter, rate and review the audio podcast instead of those auto downloads, and rate it 5 stars on Apple and Spotify. All right? Thank you all for watching. Good luck this weekend. I'll see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!